code it and see what. Just tell me what you see. Should be my face with nothing in the background.
Oh, I see your Google.
Oh, you do? That's weird. It shouldn't be. Let's do this. We'll start off with this.
Bullshit. Maybe you should look at your Streamlabs there, buddy. You shouldn't minimize Google when you open up Streamlabs. You should just open your Streamlabs. And then you can see it.
How do I make it to where that my background doesn't show up? God, this is such a fucking process.
Capture on. You have a display capture on, bro.
Display capture. I need to.
The other side.
Window capture should be locked. Right?
Sure.
Or display capture should be locked. Window capture should be open, right?
Turn both of those off. See the eyes next to the lock button? Those are your locking codes. Click the eyes.
Video capture's up. So why is it still record? Why am I still seeing Streamlabs in the background?
Because shit, you have an extra window capture. You fucking Nimrod.
I'm gonna remove that. There we go. Okay. Got it. Hell yeah. And then view image.
Yeah. Bro.
What?
It's my channel.
Okay.
Trying to think of maybe make a background. Wait, Ben.
Yeah.
Just trying to see if Ben had a video camera because you
Oh, I do.
also have it.
Well, shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, I do through my computer.
Yeah.
So the art that I've pulled up, just by the way, this is the games itself. So this would be under fair use for regards to gaming, and like this is licensed.
You're mansplaining this, bro. Just put it on stream.
Heck, man, thanks.
Huh?
Thanks.
Yep.
That artwork. If you were playing the game right now, it'd still be on screen.
Yeah, but it's not.
I would also-
It's not beyond. Like I would like to see myself so I can see what other people are seeing and have that tailored to the image in the background. Does that make sense? So I would like to see myself in addition to the art in the background so I can see what I'm looking at.
To add the image to stream.
How? Add new source to the stream.
Yeah.
Image. Got it.
Alright. And Ben,
Yep.
are you alright with being seen on stream?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
all
I don't
right.
mind at all.
We'll turn
Oh,
on
man.
the camera on Discord.
Ah, well, one second. I gotta switch it over because I'm actually currently on my phone. So one moment for that.
Well, I mean, either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to see you. It'd be cool to have you up here too.
Because I know there's a way to window cap a video camera in Discord. The video
Man,
cap.
I'm not seeing the
video keycap.
I'm not seeing, like, I'm trying to add existing source, and I'm not seeing it, but I saved it, so I'm not sure where it is.
It wouldn't be in your downloads?
Hang on. So I'm trying to add source. God damn, can't even. Hang on.
You're just a big ape, bro.
Alright. Add images to your scene. So, add source. Add a new source instead. What the fuck?
Banana, scratch butt, sleep.
Hey, I'm monkey pill.
Throw poop.
Christ. Hey, do you know, would it be media source? Possibly? Or a display capture? Because I'm just not seeing it within the image sources with adding existing sources.
You don't have to add a new source. What the fuck, bro? Are you higher than I am right now?
No, I'm not. I just need help because I'm just not understanding, so.
I feel like you're higher than I am right now, I'm not gonna lie.
No. So, what do I need to do, Dakota?
It should say add new source right in the same, it says existing source, but then there should be an option to like click it over and add a new source or some shit like that.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing that. So I've got that pulled up right now. Which I should probably turn on the video capture device, or sorry, display capture, so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did image source, I clicked on that. It adds source, and then it says add existing source. Under that, I'm not seeing the fucking...
You're about to get wrecked. It says add new source instead. Right underneath that list.
Okay. Please enter the name.
Source.
Please enter the name.
Hold up.
Okay.
See where it says add source? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Just, it doesn't have, no, you don't have to change the name. Like, it just has to, like, you can name it Mass Effect. You can name it Big Penis.
Alright. Add source, upload image file, so just copy paste the file name, or what?
Just browse, and then find the...
Got it, okay. Pictures. Pictures, downloads. Okay, there we go. We got it, boys.
Fucking hilarious, bro.
Look at that. We got it.
Yeah.
Now how do we get Ben
We're
on
waiting
here?
We're waiting on Ben to come back to the call.
Oh, he's not in the call currently?
Nah, he's left. I think we're waiting on him to switch over to video so that way we can get him on stream or some shit. But
Sure.
like Pikachu.
We're gonna go into Orwellian's Tribe. Okay. I'm gonna hop into his Discord call. So once he gets up and running, what do I do from there to like get his image on the stream?
You would have to tap it from Discord. I believe there's a way to just capture Discord.
Okay. Hello. So now I'm gonna add a new source.
Holy shit, you're loud. Holy
Yeah.
fuck.
Yep.
There we go. That's better. Your friend coming into this one now, too, or no? No, I don't know what we're doing. How that's working.
I'm gonna invite him
Yeah.
real quick. Shit. I need to invite him. Fuck, I don't think I can. Because I'm not the one that...
Started it.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I need roles. I need to be able to...
Yeah. Okay. So, I was actually just texting this. I was about to text this to you. I'm an idiot when it comes to Discord. So, not 100% sure on how to give you roles.
So
how
you
to
go...
invite him.
You should left click on... or right click on my name. Okay? Within Orwellian Strife's Discord settings, look at members, left click on my name, edit roles. Or right click, sorry. Not sure if you're seeing what I'm talking about.
There it is. Why is it not letting me expand on the roles? That's weird.
You could have just stayed in that call that we were in, to be honest.
That was on my phone. I switched over to my computer. And when I did so, it disconnected me.
Yeah, I'm saying you can reconnect to the call.
I couldn't find that.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Like I was saying, I'm an idiot when it comes to
So,
Discord.
go to screen share real quick. So, it's down in the center.
Yeah. At least on that one. One second.
Yep.
I have some privacy things I have to go through. Alright, it's gonna make me quit.
Fuck.
Alright, well, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. What the
tools. Yep.
Nothing comes up when I click it.
Motherfucker. Okay. Why don't we just go to the Orwellian Strife server?
Sure. Do that one too.
There we go. Okay, fuck. He should be coming over here soon. So, within OBS, that's going to be adding a new source to the scene, which is probably going to be a media source, I'm assuming.
What are you trying to add?
So I can get Ben's video feed onto the stream.
It'll be a video, well, not a video capture. It'll be a window capture.
Okay.
Just waiting on Ben to get his video up.
So wait, am I going to be removing my video capture from the stream and just putting up my face up on Discord with alongside him?
No. No.
Okay. Well, I've got the new source up.
See. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into OBS, you're gonna add a new source,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's gonna be a window capture, alright?
Yeah, I've got that. It's up.
And then you're gonna go into Discord,
Okay.
and you see Ben's video.
Yeah.
So, you're going to full screen the video,
Okay.
and you have it focused on his video, right? His is the biggest in
Yes.
the world. Oh wait, you don't even have to do that. Just click hide members too. So that way it's just him. And then go back and full screen it. And you're in full screen, right?
As full screen as I think I can be. Or wait, yep. It's full screen.
Alright, so go and oh shit. It would be, if you're in full screen in Discord, hit the Windows key and then click Streamlabs on the taskbar, and that should get you back to Streamlabs, so that way you can still be.
Yeah, but I'm not still. So I'm still seeing my own window display capture though. I'm not seeing Ben's
Well,
full
you
screen.
click the display capture instead of a window capture.
Got it. Okay, so I need to remove the window capture then, because the display capture has the art. So I need to make a new display capture. That makes sense. Remove that window capture. Add source. Display capture.
Well, add a window source or a window capture.
It would
then
be
you're gonna wanna-
display because the Windows capture
No,
shows.
it'd be a window capture, because then you're gonna need to capture just Discord, not the whole display. It's just Discord. You just have to capture Discord map.
So am I not gonna be able to see the stream once I do this?
You'll be able to see the stream. That's what I was just trying to
Okay, so new window capture has been made, added source. Okay. I'm just gonna minimize that. But how do I tell it which window it's to bring up, you know? Are you seeing what I'm asking?
You're at a window capture, right?
Yes, it's a window capture, but it's showing my stream.
It should have asked you, so you're going to want to go into OBS.
Yep.
You're going to want to right-click the window source, right?
Yes.
And then click Properties.
Properties, window,
Say,
Discord. Got it. Awesome. Fuck yes. Ben, you are live with us. Alright, now I need to go into Discord real quick on my phone.
You're alright. If you were looking to see your stream, wait, are you already there?
Free to tune in to first ever podcast live stream. Two bears. God damn it! I keep on saying two bears. Two nerds. High-fiving. It's a podcast where we talk about politics, philosophy, and ethics in our favorite pop culture pieces. Episode 1.
You have Twitter, put that there.
Well, this just went out to over 300 people, so we'll see on that Discord. So, okay. Okay. If you want, Dakota, you could get into chat and help moderate chat just in case we do get some viewers. You could feel free to throw it up on your Discord, dog. Do like trying to get some people to tune in to throw their thoughts out there at us. That's our goal. And once Ben gets back, we'll start recording. To get my episode notes up. Okay.
We head out.
All right, man. Appreciate the help as always.
No problem.
Chat room is open. Alright, you got your notes up, Ben?
Yeah, actually, just one second. I want to log into Twitch as well, to be honest. So.
Okay, yeah, so you can have it up.
There, boy.
creatively. So, I'm gonna start recording soon, people. Anyone who's in chat, welcome.
Forget it. I think, if I remember correctly.
It'd be great to have you in chat, honestly.
Well, I can have it on my phone.
That's fine. That's perfect. Alright, so let me know whenever you're ready. And I'll start recording. I'm trying to get users in chat pulled up so I can see who's there.
One last thing, I guess, before we actually go live, would be, for the highlighted things, did I get it right between our separation? You being blue, me being red?
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
I mean, is that what you thought?
No, that works great. That's a great way to separate it a little bit.
Okay. I was just making sure. I like colors. I'm colorblind. Let's go.
Lib.
Actually, one second. Let's come through. No, you're good, man.
Alright, we're going to start recording in T-minus 3, 2, 1. We can clip this out, so don't worry. We can clip it out. It's all good. Is Nick good? Okay. We ready? We good?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, I'm Luke.
And I'm Ben.
Welcome to Two Nerds High-Fiving, a casual show where we talk about politics, ethics, and philosophy within our favorite pop culture pieces. And today, we're talking about Mass Effect. And then after that, we're going to have our intro music playing and everything like that. You know, like I said, we're going to splice all this extra shit out in post. So,
yeah. I know what you meant. Or said.
So, Ben, first episode ever of our new podcast. We're going to see where it takes us, hopefully across the stars and, you know, and into new heights that we never would have possibly imagined. This has been a long time dream for us, and I'm glad to see it finally start to get realized.
New heights, and also, start digging deep into the depths of all the different crevices of humanity. So I think we can take it both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, terrible things that we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk of a lot of shitty people, particularly shitty fictional characters in this episode. So
and real characters. Crazy characters, truly out of this world.
Crazy characters, crazy concepts, awesome factions, good and bad. Probably some of the best character writing in a video game series ever. You know, and it's perfect that we get this out there now because, as many of you probably know listening, if you're coming here for Mass Effect Legendary Edition just recently released, and
if you didn't know that,
now you know. Go buy it now.
You need to play the games. Play this one. You're missing one DLC with the Legendary Edition, but it's the definitive version right now. Get on it.
Absolutely gorgeous. Mass Effect 1 looks so polished. It almost looks like a different game in many respects. So, all that aside, the real reason we're here. I think we wanted to start off this episode talking about... We're going to have to splice that out a little bit. Jesus. Yeah, my phone's reception is ass, so we just turned our audio back on Twitch because I am poor, and I don't have...
We are both poor. Maybe this can change that.
Maybe, we'll see. Who knows? So anyway...
And all the Robert Evans deals.
We'll talk... Hey, praise be to... we both worship at the altar of Robert Evans and Behind the Bastards.
Yes, Behind the Bastards.
Behind the Bastards, another great podcast. Listen to it. We're both wearing our shirts. So, I think we wanted to start off talking about politics in the Mass Effect universe. And, you know, just for the sake of structure, Whenever we do this, we're going to be talking about the power struggles, the interactions between groups within these fictional worlds, the ways in which we can compare those to real life and to our own geopolitics here in the boring but much more mundane but much more important world that we all live in.
I'll interject. I don't think it's boring at all. Personally.
Unfortunately.
Personally, I think it's very, very interesting.
Well, more boring than Mass Effect is what I mean.
I don't know. I spent more time studying real life topics, but nonetheless, that's just my nerdy ass. But
so, I think Ben is going to take us on a journey now through the power struggles and the galactic politics of the Mass Effect universe.
So, I thought that originally you were going to be asking questions in regards to it.
Yeah, sure. So, I guess we could start it off by me asking about, and some of this I obviously know, but for posterity's sake, we're going to act as if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the political structure of the Mass Effect universe. How does government work in Mass Effect? In what ways is it similar to our own geopolitics, and in what ways does it kind of correlate?
So, I would have to say that a large part of it feigns democracy and feigns interest in those types of things, but we never actually see that throughout a lot of Mass Effect, at least.
It's more something that we just kind of hear about?
Yeah, like, for example, in the Mass Effect universe, we hear that the Systems Alliance, which we work for throughout the entire game.
That's humanity's
yes,
space.
For those who do not know, that's humanity's, yeah.
Okay.
We hear that it's a parliamentary system. We don't ever see that.
Would the System Alliance be kind of a little bit of a sort of like the United Nations sort of cooperate, like global cooperative space force a little bit?
They did. So technically, actually, it's exactly that. Like a bunch of different nations came together, deciding that no one nation could ever truly fill out the scope of their entire galaxy, which is true. Like, we would never come into our own as this one nation, no matter what nation we are.
Sure.
So, they all came together and tried to do this, and eventually won so much respect and so much prevalence that they became their own parliamentary system, their own pseudo-government, essentially. But we never see how that works. We never know how those elections work. We never see any of those types of things. And another one that's also very similar to it is, at least for going into democracy, would be the Turians, who say that technically they have democracy within it because each ship has a vote. Each ship elects their own captain, and those captains technically are supposed to have ultimate say. Except for they have a military admiralty board that can completely override those captains at the exact same time. And so, like, it's a weird balance. And we never see the elected officials within the Turians. So, again...
Well, are the captains and admirals not elected?
The admirals are not elected. Because if you look at, again, it's in Mass Effect 3. Hey, also, spoilers.
Yeah, massive spoilers.
Massive spoilers. We're just going straight into everything. Because up until this point, it's just been kind of lore-ish. Spoilers right into Mass Effect 3. Regardless of your decisions, Renegade, you messed up her loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2, you kind of fucked her over, doesn't matter. She's still going to be an admiral in Mass Effect 3. The only way she's not is if you kill her. And she wins that because her dad was it. No election, no real policy part of it. Even if she is not a part of the fleet anymore, she's still an admiral, part of their government. So, like, you can get exiled, completely disowned by all the people, but then still become a major part of their government. That's not very democratic. Like, there is no democracy anymore. At the higher echelons, which... There's not too many real life parallels I can make to an exact point with those exactly, or at least within the governments, because a lot of these are like either third parties who, at least for the alliance, I can't make too many comparisons there. I guess kind of you can make the comparison for the Turians into several different communist countries where they feign democracy. They say there's democracy. Oh, the people vote, but they don't really get to choose their leaders.
Sure.
Go back to the USSR. Stalin chose a person to lead over you.
All party
Don't
appointed,
really have much say in
basically.
it.
Or like the
Yeah.
the CCP today, Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, the
They-
Chinese Communist Party.
you know,
they yes, it's the largest party in the world. We all vote on the things. It just happens to be that we all vote in the exact same way. It's like, all right, cool.
So much, such cohesion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know
I
that.
suppose, yeah, that's military rule with the feigned democracy. Probably not great.
So, I guess something that's always kind of baffled me. Sorry, my father is asking for a link to our stream so he can tune in. Just give me a second.
Well,
I
hello.
can pull the link. He's not here. I've gotta pull the link off of OBS.
Hello, if you watch this from the past or the future.
The future.
The future.
Yeah. So again, I say again, this stuff will get spliced out. All this extra crap.
Yeah.
We'll
As
edit.
long as we're better, so we gotta actually be better than some of our favorite podcasts, because I know there's some times where Katie Soul's like, hey, yeah, cut this out.
And then it doesn't get cut out.
Now.
Yeah, no.
And like you hear all of that, and you're like,
Trying to pull my link off of. There we go. I'll share it to my father.
Yeah, I feel like the editing dropped the ball on that. Katie's trying to be all professional. It's just, not quite.
Yeah. Well, I hope to one day be able to hire a producer. If we ever get to that point. But for now, I shall do everything myself. So anyway, back to the topics at hand. One thing that's always kind of baffled me a little bit was the way that the migrant fleet is set up. I don't understand where consensus really comes from. Like, how do they move? Where do they go about? Because they're very nomadic. They're portrayed as very nomadic. We could almost, and I know that, we had planned on bringing this up eventually, but, the migrant fleet almost always seemed sort of like the way a lot of people look at groups of Jewish communities and gypsies, people that move in caravans almost, and this is sort of like that sort of concept of, they don't have any true homeland. They have a cultural homeland and a historical homeland, but something is preventing them from returning to that homeland one day.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to say also that's culturally sort of World War II. Like, prior to this,
Yeah, no.
that's what we're mainly talking about in that reference.
Prior to
Yeah.
Israel, basically.
Yeah. Which, that hasn't worked out great either, so... Woo.
Also, disclaimer for all of our viewers, because this is really important to bring up. There will be times in this podcast where we might talk a little bit ill of certain governments, i.e. Israel, the government of Israel, or, maybe
the
even...
U.S. or Russia
Or the U.S.
China,
or Russia or China.
or USSR.
Anyone. we want to make sure that it's put out there.
Good job, man.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it's put out there now that whenever we talk about Israel in a potentially negative light, we're not talking about the people of Israel. We're talking about the government of Israel and the decisions that they make.
Yeah, we're not really a big fan of governments anywhere. All have got their flaws.
Yeah.
Everybody could do better.
Some have more flaws than others.
Oh boy, yeah.
But anyway.
Looking at you, Turkey.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you, Erdogan.
I'm not gonna say it. But anyway.
I'm coming for you, Erdogan.
But anyway,
my personal vendetta.
This is the most viewers I've ever had at once, by the way. We have 7 viewers currently. Welcome all. Like I said, if anyone has anything to say, any questions, any concerns, any critiques, please drop it in chat and we'll do our best to address it. But anyway, so yeah, I've always kind of conflated the migrant fleet of the Quarians to being sort of that nomadic, not really a tribe, but a nomadic group of people that are that were forced into that situation in their distant past. In this case, I think it's 200 years.
It's over 300.
Over 300, okay. After they lost their home world.
Because they have some ships that have been owned, and they still are flying around in spaceships that were from that first exile, which is... Yeah.
Great. Yeah. The Quarians have some of the most unique cultural aesthetic in the entire game.
And except for possibly the Turians, they're probably the most discriminated against, too.
Yeah. Yep, there's a lot of... we'll get into that later. There's a lot of... Racism has a lot of thematic importance in the Mass Effect games, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that eventually. But right now, let's keep going on power structures and council races and organizations and factions.
Yes. So, when it comes to the Turians, which is one of the 3 council races, which of course is Turians, Asari, and the Solarians. The Turians, their government's essentially just military hierarchy the entire way down. It's almost like they take a lot of inspiration from Japan in general. We'll get into it later with their religion, especially parallels with the spirits between the two.
Yeah. But
for them, and it's not modern day Japan that's taken from, it's much more of the samurai era and shogun. Everybody's military. If you're not military, you're related to somebody who's military.
Everyone fills a very specific role within society. It's like almost a caste system. Maybe.
Almost.
I mean, beyond what we see, we could assume that because the Turians have to be more than a military structure. You know, there has to be civilians, there has to be farmers, agriculture, industry. You know, it's just that.
But that can all still play into a military role. Like, one of the main things that that comes to mind for this, at least, is in Mass Effect 3, there are Korean engineers who are both combat engineers and who always take that from civilian to military to civilian, and they're always fluctuating between the two. And some of their training can be civilian ran things. So they'll build a bridge for the civilians, and then they'll go to another planet, blow up the bridge of them, and then do kind of like what we did with what we attempted to do in Afghanistan and Iraq, and try to win hearts and minds and try and build bridges over there, but that doesn't necessarily work. So it's a weird mix of the things that don't quite exist within our real world. But then again, if you take it back to samurai eras of Japan, they definitely had a more functional role within everyday society when you look at the samurai and look at the militaries that existed within them.
Yeah.
And shoguns would run it, and you could technically have samurais that would rise to that, but it's not entirely the way it always would run. So, yeah. Another power structure, though, would be the council in general is just, again, unelected.
How are they appointed? Oh, do they appoint? Do they appoint their own members, or do they achieve like a consensus together? If I'm not mistaken, because they just kind of like threw Udina on there to be humanity's first counselor.
Well, Udina not necessarily the first counselor.
Well, or Anderson.
He's always at the bare minimum the second. But,
you know what I mean? I'm assuming that Anderson. That's like probably one of the only renegade options I consistently always make in the games is keeping Anderson out of politics.
Really? Yeah, I always go the opposite way. I always do put him in there, just because. So, a theme that always crops up within this game.
Who?
The entire game series, which we haven't really technically mentioned yet, is the prevalence of military. The military is always the right option. Themes in the games, which it is a third-person shooter RPG style thing. So of course, there's military activity to be done.
Yeah.
And even in 3, the diplomacy is supposed to be prevalent.
We'll talk about like how the alignment system kind of goes into, because I mean, if I always being a massive like D&D veteran for myself, it's the character alignment system always seems helpful to me, and I've always gotten like with regards to and again, it's a game, and the game is limited in its capabilities in terms of what it can do with regards to player choice and player freedom. You know, you're basically limited to, in terms of, for those of you that are familiar with D&D alignment, you know, there's 3 basic categories. There's lawful, neutral, and chaotic, and then on the other, that's like your x-axis, and then your y-axis is good, neutral, and evil. So you could be true neutral, like dead in the center. You could be lawful good, so you could be a good person generally and following laws, you know, while staying within the framework of the society that you live in, or within your own code of ethics. Or you could be chaotic good or neutral good. There's a ton to talk about with regards to the alignment system. But for the purposes of this, I guess before moving forward, one of the greatest limitations for myself with playing a Paragon Shepherd, which undoubtedly, out of the options given, playing Paragon it achieves the best results, it achieves the best ending, at least for me. But one of the issues I've always had with it was that, you know, for people of my political alignment in real life, you know, or Ben's political alignment, which we're a little different, but we fall along the same lines, the same spectrums. I'm very anti-authoritarian, anarchist, you know, mutual aid, you know, different groups of people coming together and helping each other, not necessarily having, you know, this God or Messiah concept for any one person, because that generally leads us down bad roads historically. You know, so...
Given all that, which we'll come into later.
Yeah, we'll come into all of that later. But, yeah, that's always been one of the greatest limitations, is the fact that whenever you play a good shepherd, you generally... It presents good as being staying within the framework and the laws and the systems, working within those systems to achieve the best results.
And I honestly wasn't even going to go that deep into all of the different like ways in which you choose that, or sorry, the way it presents like what is good, what is bad. I was going more of the just plain narrative route. So like there is an obvious objective within morality is impossible. Being objective.
Yeah, no, you can't do it.
But, yeah.
But, you know...
Udina is about as close to objectively worse as you can get from Anderson.
Yes.
Like, Anderson is shown as loving, caring, he gets romantic interest. He is an actual full-fledged character. Udina is a caricature of what is a villain. He's the terrible politician, and like...
Yeah, he gives off a lot of, any Republicans here can fuck off, but Mitch McConnell vibes. So, or Ted Cruz. Nah, maybe not Ted Cruz. He's not as outwardly friendly as Ted Cruz. Udina's just kind of an asshole to everybody. Ted Cruz tries to present a veneer of nicety, I guess.
I wouldn't call Mitch McConnell. I don't even think. I think Mitch McConnell's a much better politician. So I wouldn't even lay that at him.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no denying his skill. But
Trump.
Anyway, I think we're getting a little off topic. But but yes. Back to the council. How are their members appointed?
Seemingly, and I could be wrong if there's some third source that I haven't seen, but from my own playthroughs, it seems that they are just appointed by the other council member, and so it's just this own little.
Hang on one second. Hang on one second. Simply Flesh is telling us in chat to stay away from politics. That's kind of the opposite of what we're going for. Actually, this is we're making comparisons within the Mass Effect games right now to politics in real life as it stands to our political alignment. And those individuals who don't enjoy our political alignment, you can stay as far away from this podcast as you'd like. And that's great with us. We're trying to build up a community here that embraces progressive politics and takes away the strides gained by right-wing reactionaries within the communities that we both love. So that's a big purpose of this podcast, and I'll actually probably put a separate disclaimer at the beginning of the episode for that. But yeah. Anyway, moving on.
I'm typing up a comment to him.
Sure. But anyway, I think we have a lot of shady political dealings going on in Mass Effect, and not just within the council. Not just within the council itself. Yeah, everything ties back into politics. The way you live ties back into politics. That's a good point, Ben. It's impossible to. There's a big talking point that you see with a lot of right-wing reactionaries, particularly when they talk about pop culture. Like a good example of that is the Quartering. Although the Quartering may be just a grifter, but on his channel he'll say, "Ugh, Star Wars was so great before they got all political." Well, no, it was always kind of political. It was just staying within the political mainstream of the time, which at the time was male heroes in their roles, gender dichotomies, cultural gender dichotomies as they were seen at the time being what they were. And I think that, we've made great strides in getting away from that with varying degrees of success, but that's beside the point. Back to Mass Effect, alright.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, for at least the council, they are very undemocratic in the way they actually are appointed as council members, or council member races, which have massive just power over the entire council space that they have. And all
now,
of that
to the council... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. No, go on.
All I was going to ask is that does the council, because this was also always unclear to me, there's a Turian Primarch, right, and then there's a Turian council representative. So who holds the power over the races? Is the council just supposed to be that species representative that answers to that species government, and promotes their interests, or is the Primarch the council member? You know what I mean? The Primarch, for those of you that don't know, is the Turian, the Turian race's highest military and political official, I guess.
So they are separate, and you can see that also within not only the Primarch and the Councilor for the Turians, but also the Systems Alliance, which has its own Councilor. Which the fact that those two are tied directly is a little shady in my opinion, but also the fact that there are still Earth governments in general, so like they have their own say on all of their own people, they can do all of their own things, and they're completely separate from the Systems Alliance. And so you have multiple different governments working in completely separate ways. We don't see much interaction, at least within the actual game.
It's never been very clear to me. And the code, the codex, in-game codex might shed a little bit more light on that, but I'm not sure. I guess it's just something that probably not intentionally, but is just seen by the developers as unimportant or fluff, But I enjoy the fluff, That's why we're here to talk about the fluff.
I wouldn't even go that far. I would. I felt like they went with like great care in constructing the first one, but it was a smaller team, so they couldn't teach everything. And then the second game, a bit rushed. They'd been bought by EA. Third game, really rushed again.
We'll talk about that later.
So like,
yeah.
EA.
Don't worry, everyone. We're gonna have a heated debate on here that we've had many times before, but just so you all can hear us have a heated debate about the best decisions to make for the endings. But there's room for nuance, and that's the point. That's the point of the discussion,
And our discussions can go on.
Ben's for those of you interested in left-wing unity, we have that here between two separate people of different political alignments. We've got the anarcho-syndicalist versus the socialist.
Oh, you're just going to describe me as a socialist this time. Interesting. I like to see the evolution of the way you describe my political ideology.
For posterity's sake, that's what we'll say.
For posterity's sake, it will show.
Don't worry, Ben's not a tanky. All right, no tankies in chat. No tankies in this podcast.
I flirt with tankies.
No, he doesn't. Don't listen to him.
I combine a few things, okay? Like, I'm never in absolutism. But,
no.
they're against authoritarianism. So, I think the next thing on our power structures to talk with would have been the Geft Heretics, which is actually your original idea for it. You just came up with this shortly before we went live. So,
my notes.
Would you like to talk about that one? Yeah. And then it switches back over to get into the next point, which I can talk about.
Yeah. So, sorry. I need to scroll down. The Geth Heretics, right?
Yep.
This is something I wanted to talk about because for those of you that don't know, you should know, but in Mass Effect, there's this concept called Reaper indoctrination, and it's basically where if you spend enough time around Reaper tech, or you spend enough time around the Reapers being influenced by them, we see it in the first game with Saren, the main villain, and in 2 and 3, a little more so in 3, with the Elusive Man, and with some other...
Obviously, Benezia, too.
And Benezia, yeah. And
never forget Liara's mom. Come on, man.
Yeah, true. We all love Liara here. Amazing character. But anyway, God. So
I mean, she fostered the love of history within Liara. Who can not love her?
True.
Even if she's helped murder a lot of people.
Liara. Liara. There's some issues with Liara a little bit. She has her own character flaws.
I was talking about her, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. So, with regards to the Geth are never presented as, because they're synthetics, and to my knowledge, you have to be organic to be indoctrinated. If in the case of like the traditional sense, indoctrinated. However, in the first game and for a part of the second, we see Geth under the control of the Reapers. Geth are, for those of you that don't know, are the sentient machine race that was originally created as a service life form AI by the Quarians, that group that we had mentioned earlier, that the Quarian migrant fleet. The Quarians originally had a homeworld, and they created the Geth. The Geth rebelled against their creators, took over the homeworld, and sent the Quarians on a 300-year-long nomadic existence. But specifically tying the Geth to indoctrination, we see a split in what's called the Geth consensus. So all Geth operate in a virtual sort of consensus as multiple programs. And the more programs there are, the more intelligence the Geth have, I guess. Am I correct in saying that? It's very difficult to explain.
Yeah, I would 100% agree, and like even within that, they talked about how impossible. I think both E and Legion is the main Geth interactive character that you have to explore their culture and personalities. And ED's the onboard AI that is always within your ship from 2 and 3. And so that I would ultimately agree with. The only thing that I would argue against from what you've said already is the way they are indoctrinated. I don't think it's
I wasn't
entirely...
saying that they
it's
were
not the same process.
Yeah.
I think it's not indoctrination. It's
they're turncoats.
It's hacking.
Well, that's more so in 3 though. I thought in 2 they weren't hacked. The consensus.
Correct.
Yeah, we're talking about the Geth heretics in 1 and 2.
Even within 3, they don't get hacked. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, sorry. So, anyway, there are a group of Geth that separate from the main collective, and this is the first instance in their burgeoning society, I guess, that they've ever had that happen. Generally, some Geth programs agree on certain things. Some disagree. They always go with the majority. So in that sense, they are truly democratic. They're truly a direct democracy in that sense.
Finally, the first real democracy.
Yeah, really, honestly. Although not in the traditional sense, and they are able to achieve that a lot easier because again, everyone collectively agrees. Whatever the consensus together achieves, that's what we do. But there was a split-off where a bunch of Geth went against the consensus and went off to worship the Reapers, the main villains, or I guess the main bad consequence throughout the entire game series. And they're referred to as Geth heretics. They're the main villains, or they're the main baddies, I guess, in Mass Effect 1, and they make a small appearance in Mass Effect 2. And the way that I would tie them in with indoctrinated individuals is that I would say that there is a lot to be said for groups of certain communities. The Geth aren't necessarily marginalized, but groups of certain communities that go against what the majority would think would be, or most people with, I guess, common sense would see as what's best for that community. So, good example of that is, I think you had mentioned it, good historical example is Soviet bloc countries that didn't necessarily want to, or countries around Russia, prior to World War II, that, and during World War II, at least the start of it, before the Soviets really entered the war properly,
So
that
the
were
specific
being...
thing that I was talking about, Patrick, like, to get into it, like, the very specific thing that I was talking about within Mass Effect 3 for the parallels was you can see a time where they want one thing. They want freedom, which is the gap. They want this.
Yeah,
they want to be their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a former ruler, or they could at least see what a former ruler would do. In this case, the tyranny that the Reapers would bring, and that tyranny would strip away their control and take a lot of their own free will out of things.
Yeah, but it would allow them to survive, and that was the justification that was given. I haven't got to that yet.
Well, yeah, I hadn't got to that yet, but yes, they had seen that. They had seen that control in fiction, and there's no one for one.
Yeah, like, yeah. You can draw comparisons with multiple groups.
These circumstances are not our own.
Yeah, like for example, like if any Elder Scrolls fans look at this, we'll talk about that at a later time. But there is so much racism in the Elder Scrolls between groups of people, and you have Nords who are discriminated against by a bunch of people, by the High Elves specifically, and then the Nords turn around and are racist to the Dunmer, and the Dunmer are racist to everyone. It's very shitty.
I thought the Nords were always just racist to everyone, but okay.
Well, the Nords aren't racist to people outside of Skyrim when they're outside of Skyrim. Whatever. Anyway.
See, I am just a Skyrim player, so again. I will have to do more research for that eventual podcast.
Any Mora boomers in chat? Welcome all.
Oh, we gained one holder.
Welcome all. If Korvik's in here, thanks for watching, man. I love having you here.
He is.
So anyway, back to Mass Effect though. I would say that with regards to that nuance, you see a lot of indoctrination examples like the Elusive Man, and you see the Elusive Man, and you see the with Saren Arcturus.
What are you trying to say?
Well, what I'm saying is that, with both of those individuals, they intentionally work with forces that are out to kill them, or want them dead, or want to use them as tools. Yeah, we're getting into this now. So, want to use them as tools to further their own ends. Biggest example for this would be in real life correlations. Folks who are maybe a part of certain marginalized groups, because for all intents and purposes, the Reapers want to genocide the galaxy. They want to genocide the galaxy. They aren't there to make friends. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be bought off. The same is true of many, many reactionary groups in real life. Neo-Nazis, certain other groups out there, white nationalists, even certain, you have people on the inverse side. I can't remember what they're called. Hoteps, right? Is that the term? I don't know.
If they're gonna argue, they're black Nazis.
Yeah, black Nazis, essentially. You have all these different groups,
They
right?
want their own ethno-state for black people, but yeah.
Yeah, and we would argue against ethno-states entirely here. Obviously, I would hope you would all know that. Anyway, so the correlation that I would make there is, though, in the same way that the Elusive Man thinks that he's doing what's best by humanity by trying to not necessarily work with the Reapers, but use their tactics and use their methods of control and imposing that on to use their methods of control to achieve his own ends and do what he sees as right by humanity. The same is true of Saren, although he says that he's doing it for all races. And the in real life comparisons that I would make for that, now it's questionable whether or not these people are grifters or not, but someone like Candace Owens, or who was the other one that I wrote in the notes?
It's amazing. We forgot her name twice.
Oh God, Blair White. Blair White, the trans woman who is kind of, her whole meme is like, you know, I am the one good conservative trans people, you know. Candace Owens, massive piece of shit. Talks about does the whole shut up. No. Does the whole grift of like get off the Democratic plantation. They want to control you. You know, like she very obviously, in my opinion, is doing it for the money and doing it for the clout that it gives her. And I would say the same can be said for Blair White. Blair White, you know, she's committed to being the one good trans person, or the one good you know,
fucking masochist. Blair White. I know more about Blair White probably because of Bosch than I do Candace Owens. He does more of her stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But it's very easy to make those correlations, because I think that, you know, you always have this minority of people who, you know, who are part of any oppressed group, who are going to want to try to side with the oppressors, if they can, get in for clout. To be that last person on the train, to be that last person dropped in their mass grave. Exactly. And not all
Although, I will argue within the United States we have good enough structures, at least currently, and within the people, hence us being able to survive the past 4 years that predated 2020.
Yeah.
These people are probably just going to see great financial success, kind of like the Nazi grifters that existed back in World War II that were in the United States.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those people just made bank. They didn't suffer.
For those of you that don't know, Trump's slogan of "America First." Any history buffs in chat want to tell me the first group that ever used that slogan in the United States? Because it wasn't Donald Trump, nor was it the modern Republican Party. It was early Nazi collaborators in the United States during preceding World War II. The America First Party. It was a thing. What's the look, Ben?
Yeah, I always thought. I guess I hadn't really heard about the American First Party.
Yeah, it was either a party or a movement within a party. The America First Committee, Cotton Balls got it. Yeah. So, you know, again, adding to that.
Okay. So that still does predate. That's like completely at the conception of the United States, is the American First. The first modern day usage within the United States, though, I believe, was Reagan. This is back in 1807.
No, it's Cotton Balls in chat has it right. I know. Yeah, Cotton Balls in chat has it right. Do you want to throw a link out there, Cotton?
Yeah, I'd always go into Reagan, I guess.
No, Reagan had it too, but I think that Reagan's intentions were less about co-opting that speech for...
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying he's nearly as fascistic or nationalistic as Trumpism is. I'm just saying that I knew that Trumpism, ripped a lot off of Reagan. And
yeah, but, you know, in the same way that Reagan used... in the same way that Reagan used Marxist rhetoric, because he did, and co-opted it, Trump did the same, I think, for, not gaslighting, what's the term? For, dog whistling. Dog whistling to racists, dog whistling to white supremacist and white nationalist communities. I mean, fuck, you had people sig-heiling Trump, you know, when he got elected.
Okay, so the American First Committee was in 1940. I am finding it now in the Olympic. Okay.
God damn it, Nightbot. Just telling people to stop posting links. Whatever. Oh god, did it kick? Okay, that's
You
fine.
posted-
Don't try to post the link. I have to
Yeah,
fix
yeah.
I have to fix Nightbot. Yeah, just DM it to me and we'll take a look at it later. But anyway, that was my purpose in bringing up that discussion though with Reaper indoctrination. Because I think that in the same way that the Reapers subvert and indoctrinate, people over the course of their ravaging the galaxy, or their preparations to ravage the galaxy of all sentient spacefaring life. The same can be said of a lot of really really shitty people in the modern day who oftentimes welcome collaborators from the groups that they actively try to put down and oppress. So that was the point of that.
Yeah.
We got a little bit off of a tangent.
To go a little bit further into that, I suppose we can establish Nazi. The favorite topic of anybody who wants to talk about history. As far as like using the people that you're going to oppress, you can also just talk about the people who would just, in occupied France, would just sell out all of their neighbors and even family members and people that they're married to.
Even in Nazi Germany, you had that too with Gestapo agents. No one, because the Gestapo weren't as numerous as everyone thought, but it was their whole thing was providing the atmosphere and providing the what's the term, the veneer of omnipresence. And you see that a lot in Mass Effect. A lot of people question who's indoctrinated and who's not. There's a few occasions, and especially once the Reaper War actually starts, you see indoctrinated forces everywhere. You fight them. They join the war essentially, i.e. Cerberus, the elusive man. And a lot of times, these people think that they're doing right by their communities, and their racial groups and their ethnic groups by collaborating. It's to save us. It's to show them that there's some good people among us. It's very masochistic. It's very bad, very unhealthy.
And to be honest, it's kind of hard.
It also never works.
Yes. It never works, but at least for an empathy element of it. Now, I'm not talking about those French collaborators or any people within the Czech or Poland or any of those countries that sold out their neighbors and all that stuff, but actual people in concentration camps, the Jewish people who try to take roles and try and
that's a great example
in it. I sympathize with them.
The capos.
I don't know,
of course.
I can always imagine myself being I want to survive. I could never understand when you see those videos of any time period of people being executed, no matter if they're being hanged for a crime or if they're being hanged because of mass genocide within China from Japan or Nazi Germany in any of their spots. I couldn't just imagine just sitting there. I would want to try and form some sense of control. Even if it's a false control, I feel like I would try and do that. So, it's a very,
when I've talked to certain people before, people who obviously hold very different positions from me, and they always get really offended whenever I bring up what you just said. Because from our position of privilege, we're both white, we're both Caucasian. Both of us have never had to, or neither of us has ever had to really deal with the discrimination, the racial profiling, any of that. And if we had lived back then, we wouldn't have either. So it's one of those things wherever I'm talking to especially usually an older set in their ways person. It's happened on a few occasions. There was a guy I used to work with back when we worked together. His name was Jim, and we would talk. We would have these discussions all the time. And I said yeah, odds are that if we were living in Nazi Germany at the time, odds are, you know, we probably, just statistically, we would have either A, just stood by or actually collaborated. And
Interesting.
that's
Okay.
and it's one of those things where I always say that, like, it's
Okay,
it's
so-
very easy for us to look at, just one second, it's very easy for us to look at ourselves and the way that life has shaped us and where we're at now and say, I could never. But the thing is that if you put yourself into a historical perspective and you use your sociological imagination to put yourself in the shoes of someone in that time period and to have gone through the things that those people went through in those time periods, and apply your own privilege that you have now to then, it's very easy for us to say, no, I would never. But I would posit that under the right circumstance, or I guess under the wrong circumstances, it could be you, or it will be you. And that's something to
So-
think about.
That is something to think about. I actually even had to write a college paper on that, like for a final essay, where it was just like world history, and they asked that exact question, like, statistically, a majority of people would have joined, and the paper said, how would you rationalize yourself doing that, or how can you make a legitimate argument today why you wouldn't? And I did argue that I wouldn't. And the reason why I wouldn't is because of my extremist beliefs on the other side.
Yeah, and if you put
I
yourself
mean-
in your political positions that you hold now, and if those were given
Yeah.
the chance to take root at that time, then maybe you wouldn't have. But I'm talking
So-
about just a normal person, a normal moderate.
Well, no. So for some self-criticism, at least within this, to be at least cognizant of what I am talking about.
Sure.
I'm susceptible to left-wing propaganda. I probably, especially in 1940s Germany, would have been very supportive of the USSR, not really knowing their war crimes or being possibly a denier of it at that time. Like, if that time, like, no social media, no, like, evidence existed, I was, like, believing the party, it would have been a very possible thing. I would have been like, gulags? That's not a thing.
Everyone
Oh,
everyone is
yeah.
susceptible to propaganda. Everyone.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no getting away
Well,
from
I'm,
it.
Like, I'm not saying like, yes, I am perfect. Like,
No, I know.
I'm just saying I can at least deny that genocide, so I can be on the red genocide. Like, probably. Like, not that I support it now, but
It's very
What if
easy.
no
It's
for
very
a fact?
easy to take sides in retrospect, but that's
Yeah,
why
yeah, sure.
having historical perspective on these things. And I know it's a little bit far cry from Mass Effect right now, but it still applies. You know, it still
I
applies, in my opinion, to a lot of the
So,
things that
like,
we see
to
in the Mass Effect
the way
universe.
you look at things.
But
Yeah.
having historical perspective about things that happened then, it can help you. It can help you put. It can help you get a window into what's currently happening now in the world. You know, and when it can allow you to take a deeper look into things when you're being sold a narrative by modern the media that modern capitalism posits at us, or the you know all these different things. But anyway, moving on from Reaper indoctrination, we've covered that sufficiently, I think, for this segment.
Yes. Although I was gonna suggest a slight break because I had to go take a piss.
Yeah, sure. Ben has to pee.
Yes, I do.
Ads.
Sure.
I'll take a pee break too, real quick. We'll be back in like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm back. Yeah, I know finding music would be a good idea, but I wanted to get the ball rolling on recording. But yeah, I do need to. We're actually planning on having two nerds high-fiving. We're trying to get our own music composed. Ben and I both know a lot of really talented musicians and a lot of talented producers of music connected through our personal lives. So the plan is to have pause breaks and room for ad breaks, that type of thing. But anyway.
Alright, sorry for the delay.
And we're back. So, Benjamin. What is our next order of business with regards to power structures within the Mass Effect universe?
Well, we could talk about either, I'll leave this up to you, since this is mainly your idea, and you are a great leader, obviously.
Great leader.
Because we love hierarchies.
We love hierarchies. We love leaders. And any of you from my Star Citizen community, the role that I play in that community is such a far cry from my actual beliefs in real life. Oh my god, it's.
They're asking us to play some music.
Yeah, I know.
Have any generic music that we can play?
Well, it would be like during breaks for the stream.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
No.
We should discuss that. We should find some actual things that we can just keep playing in the background.
Well, what I had mentioned is that eventually once things get kicked off and in editing and everything, we're gonna find some music to play and hopefully have some compositions.
Yes, I know about like some non-copyright things that we can actually just be playing in the background in general the whole time. That'd be bad.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Simply Flesh, if you want to find us some good music while we're talking, that'd be pretty chill of you.
I would love
That'd be pog. That'd be pretty pog, dude. Hyper's in chat. Hyper's in chat over his music. Anyway.
Also, I'm very glad that you stuck around after you said that we were going to continue with politics. I'm glad.
Yeah, thanks. Simply Flesh is a dear friend in real life, though, so.
Was that?
And a family member. He's my cousin, so. But anyway.
Makes more sense now.
Yeah, but anyway. So what were you suggesting that we talk about? I have my notes in front of me. It looks like the next thing.
So we can either talk about like actual power struggles. We've already talked about emphasis on the military. We could either dip into racism or the power struggles. Like I was saying.
Let's dip into racism. Let's talk about race in Mass Effect. And I'll let you lead this one.
I mean, look, I had already promised that we'd come back to it eventually.
Congratulations, Korvik. We're
finally on race. Which we have a white. Is she actually white, or is she like Latin American in the games? I'm not sure.
I mean, we have a few different people. I mean, I always like if you're talking about. He said
actually,
who?
Like,
sorry, Korvik is not here. Korvik is not in chat.
Oh, well.
No, he is, but he doesn't want to be known as in chat, so whatever. Anyway,
fine.
I think Trainer's Mediterranean, but I think most of the...
No. I'm talking about specifically Ashley Williams, because she is either a white or Latin American character, definitely played by a black character, or a black person. I
didn't actually know that.
Yeah. So,
that's cool.
Anthony,
interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting that... Anyway, I think that... Do we want to approach... Do we want to approach race in Mass Effect as within the Mass Effect lore? Because we don't see human racism much. What I mean, between blacks, whites, Hispanics, all that stuff. It's usually within the context of humanity's relations. Yeah, Ashley Williams is white. The actress that plays her is African American. Cotton balls.
I think you've gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I was saying though is, do we want to approach it from that, or more from the problematic, the development? Some of the development choices by the developers are pretty problematic in a few ways with regards to just
How do you
appealing to an audience. But, well, for one, what demographic were most gamers at the time? I mean, we saw it with Gamergate. For those of you that don't know what Gamergate was, people lashing out because there was someone who wanted to be, someone who wanted to be essentially the, she wanted to, you have to remind me of Gamergate, dude. I was not really active in that period of time.
Oh, you talking about NES or PC?
Yeah,
Or
yes.
all that? Okay. So there's a lot of, like, hatred towards her, which very unnecessarily.
It was one of those things where it's like, oh, this gaming's for the boys. It's for, get the women out of the fucking shit. Like,
this woman's complaining about boob size and the fact that we can kill a lot of hookers in Grand Theft Auto. Like, all right,
yeah.
like, you gotta
Which,
see that those are pretty bad things. Why are you defending them? Like,
granted, yeah, exactly. Like, granted, we have a lot of
the outfits. Damsels in distress.
We have a lot. You see a lot of that in Mass Effect 2. The over sexualization of like races like the Asari. These are all purely.
See that in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, you literally. Liara is literally a damsel in distress. Literally a damsel in distress when you encounter her for the first time. Yeah, Ash to a certain extent, although I wouldn't argue as much because she was holding her own when we saw her.
I mean, she's also militarily trained well.
Yeah, but anyway.
Liara is not.
But anyway, circling back around to race, though, it is a curious decision to have had Ashley Williams, voice actress, portraying,
that might be imposing like our modern day beliefs on there, and that's not even necessarily a ubiquitous thing.
No, it's not, and it doesn't necessarily belie something bad. All I'm saying is that taking that along with a lot of their other design decisions and the way that they sexualize everyone. I mean, the panning to ass shots of certain characters in cutscenes and the
especially Miranda
in Mass
Even
Effect
when
2.
She's about to.
It's just a little problematic sometimes.
A bit.
So you have to take that into account. However, from a story perspective, which is more so what I wanted to talk about, race plays a massive theme in these games, and relations between races, and cooperation versus competition between these races, and the ways in which one alien race fucks over another alien race to gain advantage over them or to put them down, or you have so many examples. You have the humans and the Batarians, you have the Turians and the Solarians with the Krogans versus the Krogans, and literally doing a slow-boiled genocide. You have the sort of more casual racism against the Quarians. You have Navigator Presley in the first game talking about, all these aliens on my ship, all these extra species on my ship, and you can kindly tell them to shut the fuck up and that this was actually a joint Turian human project anyway. So, although
specifically when you go into the Presley, he talks about how it's a built-in thing. It's a learned thing. It's a learned process that they show within the games, which is I love, because with him specifically, his grandfather, it's either his grandfather or his great-grandfather, I can't quite remember, fought in a war that was the first contact war where humans first experienced another alien.
I think that would have been his father or grandfather then, because there were people, the elusive man was around. Yeah.
Like, you were technically born at the time, so it was about 40 years ago.
It probably would have been father then, honestly.
It probably, no, it was definitely grandfather or great-grandfather, so
okay.
Within the time frame, it should have been grandfather. Okay. But nonetheless, what I was trying to say was the fact that he had family ties to why he believed these things. His family fought against him. I have grandparents personally who, on my grandfather's side, or on my mother's side, my grandma, who hates the Japanese. And the reason for that is, like, I have family members who fought against them in World War II. That's the reason. It was technically my great-grandfather on their side, and they fought against them, and that bigotry had been passed down to her as their daughter, and was at least at least for racism, passed down to my mother, and then definitely tried to be passed on down to me. Not from my mom, because I didn't really stick with her, but from my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother, who I've all met. So, like, it was an attempted family process, which shows up within Presley. And one of the beautiful things, just like I suppose for myself, that shows up within Presley is that you can find out within too, like,
after his death.
Mass Effect 2. Yeah, after. Hey, spoiler again. He dies. No matter what you do, one of the few deaths you can not avoid. Yeah, he ends up loving and willing to defend all those different types of people
and die for them, and that was one of the most, for such a minor character, it was such a beautiful full circle moment. And and at least when you find his dog tags, and you listen to that log, you can hear him, and props to the voice actor for Presley, whoever that is, but you can hear the genuine remorse and the positivity when he talks about his fellow crew, and I think that really speaks to the nature of racist tendencies. We all have racial bias, whether we like it or not. We all do, even if it's really subconscious. And I think that one of the great themes of Mass Effect is growing past those bigotries and becoming a better person for it. Another great example of this, of transcending racial divides, that I can think of, is actually Eve, the Krogan female who helps Morden Solus, the Solarian scientist who participated in genophage modifications, helping him and him helping her to find a cure for the genophage and a new beginning for the Krogan people. And she actually wants to name her firstborn after Morden, as a result of that. And Morden's, beautiful. It makes me cry every time. But Morden's death, he says, it's a new beginning for all of us, and it's really touching. It's one of the most touching moments and most touching story arcs within the entire series, in my opinion. So, there's another big example of race in Mass Effect, and this one is more problematic, in my opinion, from a writing standpoint, but Shepard, even Paragon Shepard, has some casual racism thrown at the Batarians that is essentially unavoidable in dialogue. You can't do anything about it. I can't remember.
He also has some casual racism towards the head-on as well.
Yeah.
The big, stupid jellyfish. No matter what, always tries to say that. Always tries to sneak that in. Bit weird.
A bit weird, bit problematic.
That's problematic. I mean,
I get that it's played. It's played for laughs. It's just that I would rather not have my Shepard say that shit.
Yeah.
But excuse me. I think that that's sort of a failure in the writing, though. Is painting the Batarians, which admittedly there have been some bad Batarians, some Batarian terrorists, some Batarian human conflicts, that have resulted from humanity's expansion and in gaining influence from within the council races. However, I think that it would have been a lot better if we could have seen Commander Shepard transcend those conflicts and those divides and be better than that. Not be Ashley Williams, essentially. And it's funny, too, because you can call Ashley out on her racism in that same game. And it seems a little hypocritical to me to then turn around and say, oh, a lot of such and such for a Batarian.
It's entirely hypocritical. The thing that I guess... I mean, it is a bit hypocritical to the extent, like, it's almost like Get Out, where you have
Good
the
movie.
neoliberal and liberal type people condemning the outright racist that you can see on the right. Like, yeah, you can condemn them for being racist, but then you turn around and you're like doing some fucking shady ass shit too, and you're really a bit racist too, but you're trying to deny it,
Or at least play the optics game,
Yeah.
which...
Also, just for an actual being continuity wise, Dwight Schultz is the voice actor.
Oh, Dwight Schultz. Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, President.
But yeah, lots of racial conflicts within Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Another big one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, if it's kind of going if it's going off of what we were just talking about, I was about to move to a different topic under this race umbrella.
So was I.
Okay.
So it's all good. Go
I
for
was
yours.
gonna bring up Cerberus, everyone's favorite terrorist, human survivalist, human xenophobe faction.
And I was going to talk about Miranda, who is
Cerberus.
under Cerberus. Yeah, she's super under Cerberus.
Super under Cerberus. Super
Fucking
racist.
man cock throughout the entire thing at the beginning. Ooh, boy, did she love them.
Yeah, she was singing the praises. Cerberus has
We'll get into it.
Cerberus has a lot of Cerberus is interesting. And the reason I say that is because we have essentially within the background of the lore behind them, they are this oops, didn't mean to do that. Whatever. Within Cerberus itself, we have this. Hey, Post, what's up, dude? How are you doing? Anyway, within Cerberus, we have this hyper survivalist, hyper xenophobic, and essentially human supremacist organization that rose directly following the First Contact War. And the character of the Elusive Man comes up for the first time here, and within the lore makes his real first appearance. His name was, I believe, Jack Harper within the lore, and he was essentially involved in a confrontation where he was taken captive and tortured by Turians, and following that, and following the end of the First Contact War, he decided that humanity needed a watchdog. You know, in Greek mythology, Cerberus was the watchdog to the gates of the underworld. And in that same frame of reference, it's easy to see where the Elusive Man would have gotten the name for the organization if you look at it that way. He wanted Cerberus to be humanity's shield against at least initially, humanity's shield and humanity's advocators against what he saw as an incredibly hostile galaxy. He thought that, genocide against humans was inevitable. I'm basing this all off of prior research into the character and into the organization.
Fun fact, Luke typically likes a lot of fascistic governments and or organizations, at least for looking into them.
I'm saying that
Support them.
Jesus Christ, Ben.
You do.
I like to play villains, and I like to play villainous characters in fictional games sometimes. Although never when I'm although the distinction is important. It is important to make the distinction that I never do that when I play myself, when I play a character as myself, which is Shepard, I typically do. I never play this way. I do sometimes like to step into the shoes of villains when I play video games. I just think that Cerberus is very interesting, and there's a lot of room for nuance with them because of the diversity of their activities. Although not so much in Mass Effect 3.
Or 1. Or 2?
Not talking about Cerberus's leadership, I'm talking about like different people's reasons for joining the organization and the things.
On the personal level, you can justify just about it.
That's fair. That's true. And I just think that it's interesting to see ways in which Cerberus attracts these people with promises of, doing things that, the Alliance isn't willing to do, particularly with the conflict with the Collectors and the Collectors kidnapping human colonies. And a good example of that actually is even Miranda, as pro-Cerberus as she is, I wouldn't call Miranda racist. At least not to the same level that we see with Ashley Williams.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. Miranda, on multiple occasions, compliments and suggests learning from other council races, particularly the Asari. When you're on Ilium, she mentions that. But back to Cerberus.
By the way, as far as like weird niche things within the Mass Effect universe, I'm Team Caden. Fuck Ashley.
I used to be Team Ashley, but I always found Caden kind of boring in Mass Effect 1. But after I saved him my last playthrough through Legendary Edition, I ended up really, really enjoying him as a companion.
I'm very happy you actually did that too.
Yeah, I am too. I think I'm Team Caden now myself. But anyway, Cerberus. Cerberus has its hands in a lot of shady dealings, not just within the galaxy at large, but also back on Earth. They had a pope assassinated and replaced with a more pro-human, authoritarian pope. They had the Terra Firma part. They had their pockets in the Terra Firma party, which was a pro-human political party. I don't know in what country, but
I believe that, yeah.
They
were actually working within the parliament of the Systems Alliance.
Right.
So it wasn't any particular government. And fun fact for them, which we didn't really know exactly where to throw in within this, but they have a very good parallel, I believe, within the Republican government, which
like with the Republican
Party.
Oh, got it. All right.
And,
sure.
Yeah, not Republican governments in general. The party within the United States. So they
Cerberus or the
Shogun
Terra Firma?
Yeah, Terra Firma originally shows up within Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, you hear about them.
No, not only hear about them, you meet them. You meet a guy who's leading the candidacy to become the Prime Minister of the Systems Alliance Parliament, within their Parliament. And you talk with him. And then in Mass Effect 2, you hear over a radio news network that, hey, the extremely conservative person who's always talking about taxes and how the poor people don't pay it and like the rich are being taxed too much. Well, he's been arrested for tax evasion, which is always a nice little thing to me, at least.
Yeah, it's very it's pretty par for the course for things that happen in real life.
Yeah, like
yeah,
100%. That's a fun little fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little jab.
So, I think that another interesting thing of note is that, which further ties, unfortunately, not to talk about our backgrounds, at least not mine right now, because
I'm an open book. Fuck it.
Well, I'm not right now because of the environment that I'm in. But anyway, it's mentioned that, and we don't know to what extent, I don't think, but it's mentioned that Cerberus actually rose out of, or was at first or speculated to have been a rogue special forces unit within the Alliance, or a special forces, some sort of secret intelligence gathering type thing within the Alliance. So that always made me wonder whether or not Cerberus and its ideals were once a part of the Alliance military, but then when they got too radical, they left. I've always wondered that, but that's something I wanted to bring up. But anyway, that's beside the point. My point with that was, a lot of times, as apolitical as the American military tries to make itself seem, if you look at the demographics, the majority of American military people, which this is becoming less yearly, but most of them vote Republican, and it's easy to see why. Because a lot of Republican politicians in the U.S., they always kowtow to that demographic. It's all the hero worship, all the glorification of violence and protecting America and making America this dominant force within global politics. So you could also talk a little bit too with that, not just with the American military, but a lot of the far right extremism currently popping up in the German military as well. That was a problem recently. I read an article around it at some point, and I can post the article in the description if I can find it. But it basically talks about how the German military has basically lost control of, or has no control over, its ability to limit extremism within its ranks, and they're kind of panicking about it, because it wasn't just some enlisted guys, it wasn't just some sergeant somewhere or a few sergeants somewhere that were plotting some kind of terrorist attack. No, it was like a general, I think, who was implicated, or it was some high-ranking field officer, and I'm just like, oh my god, no.
I'm not mistaken, you're right, it was a general, and this was a few years back, because Trump was still in office. I want to say it was like 2017.
Yeah,
so it's not too long after he was elected. Because, the media was definitely still freaking out about right-wing extremism within governments. I also read multiple things from the New York Times about Italy at the time. For Cerberus's origins, they technically originated from 3 different people who were a part of the Alliance, met some people from the Turians who were trying to make the perfect Turian soldier, and was like, well, if they're doing that, we should separate ourselves from the Alliance and do that for ourselves. So that's initially where they came from. And according to the Mass Effect Wiki, the very first Mass Effect villain that you mainly saw as far as face-wise goes, Saren, was actually teamed up with the main 3 people who made Cerberus.
Jack Harper, the Elusive Man.
Jack Harper, yep. Which is the Elusive Man, which is the only one persisting throughout all of the games. Eva Kor, and Hislop. And yeah, those 3 are the original founders. And then they meet up with Saren to stop the plot for the Turian supremacy to actually come to be in existence.
Right.
And then Eva and Ben die within that plot. So,
although we do see
the Elusive Man.
We do see Eva Kor be named after that doctor, that scientist who turns out to be the Cerberus synthetic. It seems that the Elusive Man had some nostalgia with that individual and named it after his... It's the one whose body becomes Edie's body.
Oh, of course. Let me actually look that up.
It's not the same individual, though, because Project Eva starts after Edie's failure. You see it in a terminal entry on Chronos Station during that mission in Mass Effect 3. But, no, so it's...
So, completely unrelated to this necessarily, but when I first Googled
Excuse me.
ED,
Yeah.
the first thing that came up is IBM, Electric Data Interchange, or Interchange. So,
Nice. Okay.
always be aware of massive corporations storing your data and changing it over. For legal purposes, I am not saying that this is necessarily IBM. More of a joke and a type of zeitgeist commentary. That is mainly what I'm talking about. But also, fuck all corporations.
Yes, fuck all corporations, indeed.
Back to Mass Effect.
Back to Mass Effect. A lot of people actually like to make the comparison. At least I've seen it a lot on like subreddits and joke posts and just shit posts, internet shit posts of comparing the Elusive Man's character to Elon Musk. Which has always just fucking cracked me up, man. Like Elon Musk is not A, that intelligent, B, that capable. He might be that ambitious. I mean, he wants to see us on the moon, but you know, if he has his way, you know, everyone will be sitting in their fucking kiosks with machine guns dropping out of the ceiling, pointed at you for not doing your work while on Mars. When he decides to claim ownership over the planet in the year 2077, you know. So, but that's beside the point.
As far as like comparisons between Elon Musk and the Elusive Man goes, you know, I would say the Elusive Man is actually a lot more morally consistent.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, I would say. Although I think that the Elusive Man is much more of a... He's presented as a tycoon, but he's much more politically...
I feel like he's politically motivated.
Yeah.
That's his entirety.
Yeah. Elon Musk is not.
He's running this thing much more like a Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Which I know you've gone against before, but I would much more compare him to that.
I would agree, actually, in retrospect. I would agree. But...
Finally, yes.
But the... no, and I think that, you know, Elon Musk is much more just profit-oriented. And he may have a vision and, you know, a personal vision, but that's beside the point. It's... His profits are very obviously... If you look into his history, which I don't think Ben or I are qualified to really talk about as much, but... if you look into the history of who Elon Musk is and where he comes from and what his family did back in South America or South Africa, a lot of his current projects and the money that he makes, it makes a lot of sense.
If you ever have any real questions about his endeavors into the diamond mines or his family's endeavors and his backstory, I would recommend looking up even more news on YouTube. They have several videos on Elon Musk. They talk about him. It's very interesting to go into his backstory and all his not Iron Man type that he tries to present himself as. He didn't actually invent anything.
No, he did not.
Well, what's his one patent? He has one patent, I think, and that is the charging cord for his cars. Didn't have to be changed. That is the main thing he's been pushing on people, and it's one of the main patents he actually has. So, there's that.
Sorry, I'm trying to share the... Oop, there it is. Sorry. Anyway, but back to the Elusive Man and Cerberus. I'd say that Cerberus's motivations change a lot over time. They're not very they're consistent in what they say and the rhetoric they say, but the outcomes change a lot. And that kind of that kind of rears in its ugly head with, all the different Cerberus cells, what their jobs are, and how that all kind of ties in together back in, finally in Mass Effect 3 when you see that the stories being sold by the Elusive Man to these different cells about what their functions are and what they do are very different from the actual outcome. And you actually see a little bit of that in Mass Effect 3 when you see a little bit of that in Mass Effect 3 when you encounter like the ex-Cerberus scientists who say that once they realized what their research, once they put all their research together and they realized what all their different cells were like what the final product would have been, then that's when they decided to stop, and I think that it's unfortunate from a story perspective that the Alliance didn't do more to help help with the collectors, to quote Counselor Udina, would have caused a political shitstorm, like, or something, but to use his phrasing. Interesting then that he ends up being the Cerberus collaborator. But
I'm gonna guess he was indoctrinated.
I don't know if Udina was. I don't know if Udina was. I don't think I would say Udina was indoctrinated. He was promised.
Look, that might be the only justification I have for the rush for writing that does exist within Mass Effect.
Fair.
Because there is. That is present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that the initial. We got new viewers. I think.
Yeah, you got 5.
I got 6 on mine.
Let's keep going.
Yep. So, yeah, we have a lot of different characters in Cerberus that joined for different reasons, and for a lot of them, including Miranda, it wasn't so much their intention to see humanity in a position of supremacy over the other races. For a lot of them, it seemed like they joined up just because it seemed like Cerberus were the only ones doing anything to help, at least in Mass Effect 2.
So for Mass Effect 2, at least with Miranda, yeah, she believes in the cause. She believes the fact that Cerberus is the only one truly doing anything. But she does believe in the human supremacy. She talks about it constantly throughout Mass Effect 2. And Jacob, on the other hand, you see him, and he joined up entirely because the Alliance wasn't doing anything, and leaves an elite group that was essentially supposed to be the Spectres, but for the Alliance. And you see him go into it, and he's just joining the bad guys because he believes they're the only ones doing anything, which would be pretty much the exact reason that your Shepard, regardless of what you choose, is...
Or regardless of your actual opinions on the organization.
Yeah, regardless of whatever you want, like, you're joining the Cerberus. Like,
yeah.
And he's pretty much the exact same reason. Not Trainer, because Trainer's...
Kelly Chambers.
Chambers is kind of the same reason.
Yeah.
Trainer, who's in the third game, respects Cerberus for at least taking action for it too. So
despite being on the run from them and dying. Oh, little tidbit.
Yeah. Being one of the few colony members who lived because of Cerberus probably sways your opinion.
Little tidbit. Did you know that after Trainer dies, or not Trainer, I'm sorry, Chambers. After Chambers dies in Mass Effect 3, her name doesn't go up on the Normandy's memorial board. It kind of made me sad.
Oh, see, I don't let her die, so I didn't know that.
Wait, you can save her? Never mind. Just if you guys couldn't tell, Ben knows the ins and outs of how to achieve like perfect ending for everyone in this game way more than I do. So
unless my saving fucks me over.
Yeah, he lost Miranda, but I lost I lost Kasumi this last playthrough without meaning to, so we're even, I guess.
You lost apparently Kasumi and Chamber, so
Yeah.
who's really even?
But anyway, yeah, I think we've talked enough Cerberus. They're shit. They're human supremacists. They're racist overall. Although in the third game, their not casual, their racist ideology against all other, well, alien species, comes more full circle when they just become Reaper indoctrinated tools. So.
But not only Reaper indoctrinated tools, the belief that you could use Reaper technology in the way they did to subvert what they were trying to do. So, like, they did horrific experiments on all of humanity, and, excuse me, I believe it's Horizon, where they're doing it on any refugee that would actually come. So, the amount of war crime they've committed is extreme. What would you like to move on to next, I suppose? Still within racism, because we still have quite a few different characters.
Hey, you can take the reins. Take the reins, Ben.
Okay.
Welcome, Feet, to chat.
Sorry, what?
There's a user named Feet. Anyway, go on.
Then my phone is lagging behind, I guess. So, we see a lot of just kind of casual racism on the front between the different races, for multiple different things. Not only does Udina, the senator, is that what they call him?
Ambassador.
Ambassador, correct. Yeah, cool. The ambassador within the first game. He refers to. He's like constantly talking to other aliens, especially Tally, as the Quarian. He like just refers to her in that like
the
dismissive
Quarian,
way.
the Asari,
Yeah. Which actually we actually see. So it expands beyond just him, because we see that within Yara actually as well. She refers to, I believe, Rex as the Krogan. He's like, doesn't actually give him a name, just like refers to him in that way and just tries to stay separate.
I mean, a big theme with a lot of the people in power is just kind of it across the games, at least humans in power, is seeing Shepard's crew as little more than tools. Which kind of this actually brings me into another, I guess, tying back to the Elusive Man a little bit more, because the Elusive Man, his big thing is control. Control of the Reapers, control of you if necessary, to quote what he exactly says. He talks about...
he doesn't go full control, though. Like, that little...
Well, he wants full oversight over everything that Cerberus does.
Well, yes, but I'm just saying that little, disclaimer, because he does not allow you to be controlled by an inhibitor.
No, I'm not talking about... So
I'm just saying that, like, he does have, like...
Control the direction that you go, not necessarily how you do it. If that makes sense. Like...
Yeah, but an inhibitor ship would have been able to do both, so I'm just saying. He had the chance to do
fair.
it.
Yeah, fair.
But
like, I also see Shepard as a bit of a special case for him.
That is true.
But anyway, back to my original point. So, I've always thought that Shepard the Elusive Man kind of represented a foil to Shepard. where the elusive man, at least Paragon Shepherd, we're assuming that all Shepherd, this whole thing is assuming that you go with all Paragon choices for Shepherd. Shepherd is very much about cooperation between species and cooperation between different governments towards achieving an end, and making people realize that we're stronger together, and that we all have unique traits and unique abilities. Obviously, these are alien races. This isn't like different subgroups of the same species, but still, recognizing that each race has its own strengths and weaknesses, and that we work better together within the framework of the Mass Effect universe. Whereas the elusive man is always hyper focused on that end of gaining and keeping control over the direction that humanity goes, and making sure that we surpass not just politically but evolutionarily as well. By the end of the third game, he seems to think that controlling the Reapers would be the last step in propelling humanity forward on the evolutionary scale. And so I've always found that dichotomy interesting. And the fact, too, that the elusive man, despite his ideology, allows Shepard to do that. Oh, the elusive man is fine with any tools that come his way. Same with that Volus who ends up working with Cerberus as well in Mass Effect 3. As long as those ends are achieved, he doesn't really care how he gets there. And I'd say that the same is true of Shepard. As long as it doesn't. Shepard's willing to sacrifice a lot for the completion of his mission. Even a Paragon Shepard, he always looks for other ways out, of course. But those I would say would be a big similarity between the two. But you actually see a lot of Paragon Shepard's cooperative interspecies ideology, I guess, in the Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC, where the Shepard clone is like, what's the difference between you and me? Why not me? And then Shepard's friends help him up and back onto the ship. I mean, the answer speaks for itself. So... Did you have anything further to talk about with regards to race in Mass Effect, Ben?
Yes. So the final thing is probably like the most controversial thing that I was going to talk about in regards to this. And this is something I kind of hyped you up for, I suppose. But... So, like I had mentioned earlier, there's definitely never a one-for-one between the races. There is not a one in our reality and a one that exists within the Mass Effect universe.
Sure.
And the reason why I need that to be a very clear clarification is because I can see and kind of understand the justifications for the original Genophage within Mass Effect. So, it's terrible.
Oh, I didn't know we were I didn't know we were going down this route.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, this is why I wanted you to have a hot take on this.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was holding this back until we actually got into it.
Shit.
Technically, they were spawning as fast as fucking possible.
The Krogan.
And we're going to overrun the galaxy. To every account we have. The Krogan don't deny this. The Asari say this.
In fact, they kind of go with it. They go at it from a point of pride.
Yeah.
Rex.
This is going to happen. Almost like the Mongolian hordes that are going to overrun the entire galaxy. And that is something that they were going to do. There is seemingly no regret, no denial, nothing on any side. That was what was going to happen. We have no comparison in reality to this. The myth that it seemingly exists within our own reality of the overpopulation,
Yeah, that's bullshit.
it always tapers off.
Yeah.
And the Solarians tried to do that within the Krogan population within the game. And they tried to taper off the population to what was supposed to be pre-industrial breeding habits, I believe is their exact words. But nonetheless, that didn't work.
It was made worse.
It made the situation where they're just a dysfunctional race, which is shitty to fucking say, but that's
dysfunctional people in a dysfunctional society, constantly at war with each other, constantly fighting over resources.
Rex killed his father, which is supposed to be the huge hook for familial version of this. They are not functioning properly. That was his whole storyline of, well, I killed my father, and a thing that would turn a family upon itself like that is not real. Not justifiable.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would personally agree with. But we don't exist within that universe, and kind of like what we talked about earlier between the Geth going to the Reapers, or in reality, the Polish going to the Soviets over the Nazis.
Yeah, and we don't know if we were Solarians in Mass Effect. We don't know the route we would have taken. Yeah. And I think that Morden is great because he is the Solarian that recognizes the mistakes that were made. And along with that, he also recognizes that there's a way to fix this and make it better and give them another chance, so we should. It's not some inherent problem with the Krogan as a species. It's a problem with A, their environment, and B, the scarcity of resources that they have to deal with on Tuchanka.
Yes, and
if that can be fixed and aided, then they deserve a second chance, and he takes that. He takes that route and redeems not only himself, but goes a long way towards helping the Krogan find their place again.
Mm-hmm. There's also talk about within the game of when the society is ready to be brought up and become spacefaring, essentially. Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said for that, I suppose, but that seems a lot more subjective and very, very hard to say. At least for when it comes to Morden, it almost seemingly is...
I can hear you through my headphones. I'm putting a hoodie on.
Okay. It's seemingly... to bring in another franchise, it's very Vulcan-esque, I would feel. Where their decisions, we know what is best for society. Oh, we messed up? Well, then we messed up. There was no controlling it, and they just simply weren't ready. And
right.
There's a weird thing to it that is interesting to me.
Yeah. There's a lot of the biggest thing to always remember with particularly this podcast, where a lot of the time, along with talking about just fictional events in general, fictional universes, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of nuance to be had, and it's important to delineate between our universe and reality. There is no comparable situation in human history to the Krogans and the Solarians in the Genophage. There's not. There's genocides, but not the same circumstances.
Yeah.
And it also calls into question, even if we had that power, I don't even necessarily know that it would be morally righteous to use it, It's to affect things in such a way that the Solarians did. The idea that we would ever have that ability is unthinkable.
Actually.
To alter DNA like that for a massive population that's insane.
Now that I think about it, and this is just something that I'm thinking off the cuff, so, hey, if there's anybody very historically minded out there that's more historically minded than me, throw in your own 2 cents. Tell me I'm a dumb fuck who doesn't know what he's talking about. But what just popped in my head was at least the argument that the original 13 colonies and Americans had that the Indians would overrun them. Native Americans were the original people here, and they were just going to make it so their raids would never stop people from advancing. They would continually gain their own land back. The only, like, the difference between them would be, only in my mind, the Krogan are always gaining new land. Native Americans are gaining their original land.
They're just trying to. The Native Americans were just trying to maintain the land that they already had, whereas the Krogan are expanding.
So I'm not thinking of the justification within their communities, within the Krogan or the Indians. I am thinking within the justification for the people who are oppressing.
Yeah.
I could think that there's a lot of probably parallels between the expansionist Americans
And, like, Native Americans committing their own atrocities against white settlers or civilians, you know, that kind of thing. Because you had that.
They would argue that, and they would argue, well, they're trying to take land that isn't theirs. Would be the mindset of the American expansionists and Canadians who have committed their own war crimes and genocides against the native population.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing to remember too is that, like, with the Krogans and the Solarians and the Turians, you know, all three sides did a lot of wrong in that situation, and all those wrongs built up to the big wrong, which was that sort of final solution of the genophage. You know, like, that's I don't know how else to put it.
So I would say also, as a reminder, that to the true Mass Effect fans who are still following around at this point, that there are usually the blame is entirely put on the Solarians. Almost always.
Yeah, never on the Turians, oddly.
Well, within the Citadel DLC.
Yeah, you see the Turian's the one that releases it. He pushes the button on it.
Yeah, he's the one that pushes the button, even regardless of the fact that the Solarian government is the ones who didn't want to do it. So, really, the Solarians just get fucked optically.
Yeah.
Because they designed it, and they get blamed for releasing it.
Which is bad.
Even though...
it's bad that they designed it, but, you know...
Look,
it's
both are bad, but they get double fucked in the optics.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me.
That's why I think Morden's death affects me more than almost any other, at least assuming everything else is perfect, everything else lines up perfectly, and you don't lose anyone else beyond what is forced on you through the story. I think that's why Morden's death to me always seems the most significant, doing what he's doing. That's why it always brings out the most emotion in me. I mean, because he's ending a horrible, horrifying saga that has been going on for hundreds of years, and that to me is really, really significant and a great character moment in those games. And that's one of those times where you really look at Mass Effect and you're like, wow, like this game really sets itself apart from a lot of others in the genre with regards to role-playing games. It's just a real standout moment, you know. For all of the flaws that are there, it's got a lot of those, and that's one of the best in my opinion.
Definitely. I for sure agree with you on that. You have another topic within racism that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think I'm done. I think we can move on to philosophy. Philosophy.
Okay. Hey, that's your too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So.
That's what you got.
I think that within.
How long is this thing gonna be?
Right now we're at 2.5 hours. We're gonna have to split this up into parts, I would say.
Hey, which is fine by me. I can go as long as you need. I'm just saying. I'm fascinated to see how long it goes, I guess.
Yep. This is for the mega nerds, you know, the ones who sit and listen to a podcast for hours like Ben and I do. So
Yeah. Shout out to what is that? Extreme History? What is that called? Ultimate History?
History Buffs or Alternate History
No,
Hub?
no.
Alternate History
No,
Hub?
no. It's a podcast.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh boy. I am no. You know.
Or Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Is that what you're talking
There
about?
we go.
Yeah.
That is what I'm talking about. Hey,
Yeah.
hours upon hours of just history on history, just the biggest details and the most. Listen to that. What are you doing? Listen to us. We don't matter. Listen to that. Oh, love it.
So anyway, philosophy in Mass Effect. There's not a lot, really. There's some big ones. Not a variety of philosophical ideas, but there are some big ones. And I think that within any good RPG, any RPG worth its salt, one of the biggest ones that you see is the idea of consequentialism. And myself being a consequentialist, essentially what the idea is that you look, when you use consequentialism as a part of a moral framework or as a part of your axiomatic value, that part of you which is most central to all the decisions, whether they be interpersonal, wider political stances. Consequentialism is a big one for me, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love RPGs so much, particularly this one, is because when I was growing up, Mass Effect taught me about the value of impactful choices and the idea that the choices that you make can cause a domino effect sometimes years down the line. And I think that a big part of that is, you know, looking at any decision you make in your life and saying, if I do this, if I take this step, is it going to make the world a better place? And, of course, nobody can be perfect, you know, but I think Mass Effect taught me a lot about that, in the sense that from game one, we all know, if fans of the series know, that the decisions you make in game one, they have massive impacts on the outcomes in game three. Now, admittedly for myself, Mass Effect 1 sometimes gets a little boring. A little repetitive gameplay. Yeah, so, but still, you know, I try to get the big ones. I try to get the big ones done so that I can go on and have more fun and see more of the impactful choices and the great story arcs that happen as a result of those things, you know. And it also adds depth. It adds an incredible.
Cerberus because never really finished anything. That's the reason. He never goes fully into one.
Is Shepard a post-human? We're actually going to get to that. We're going to get to that. I love it.
Oh.
Melloperator, we're going to get to that. Don't you worry. So, I would say that, kind of going off of what Melloperator's saying in chat, is Shepard a post-human? Well, there's a couple different things you could say about that. I would say that transhumanism, you know, which is a little bit different from what you're saying, but transhumanism actually plays a big role in the Mass Effect games, you know, in terms of augmenting yourself, you know, biotic implants, that kind of thing. But the thing that I was going to bring up was Nietzsche and his concept of the Übermensch. And, you know, is Shepard the Übermensch? Is he the Übermensch? You know, does he fulfill Nietzsche's ideal? You know, and there's 7 characteristics of the Übermensch, and let me go pull those up because I do not have them off the top of my head, but I have it ready. So the first one is embracing life. Much of Nietzsche's thinking is tied to the decline of religious belief that Nietzsche describes as the death of God. Nietzsche views religion as a rejection of life, that life is viewed as a terrible struggle with true rewards such as peace only being achieved in the afterlife. So from that standpoint, I think that Shepard, especially, particularly Paragon Shepard, of course, he embodies that because of everything that Shepard does matters, and he has to embrace the good things in life that he gets throughout that story. Perfect example is the Citadel DLC. Shepard's doing important work, and he's got a time to take a break, and spend time with all of the friends and loved ones that he's made across his journeys in the Normandy. And I think that one thing that doesn't really apply necessarily is accepting hard truths without complaint as they come along with life. Shepard always tends to go against the grain with those sorts of things. But did you have any thoughts on at least that portion of the Ubermensch theory?
I mean, for the Ubermensch theory, I would definitely go along the lines of every single different person you interact with, assuming that you make the correct choices within the game, correct?
Sure.
You are chosen as the one. You are the one. You're taking
very much Messiah complex for a lot of people around him. Although
Sure.
Shepard would deny that himself, saying, the shit like, I'm just a soldier. Yeah, sorry, their self, my bad. No discriminating against FemShep here. FemShep's awesome.
FemShep. My last playthrough. What a beautiful game she does. Not only that, like, they are the only one who could solve the Geth and pouring crisis. They're the only ones who could bring Turians and the Krogans and parts of the Solarians together. Like, they're the Ubermensch within, like, to the teeth within this game.
Absolutely.
And as far as, like, post-human things go, they question themselves within 2 and 3. Less 2, much more 3. If they are even human. If they are the original Shepard.
That's true.
They find out,
he does talk about that.
Yeah, they talk about how they're questioning, am I a clone? Am I just a very sentient AI?
That thinks it's Shepard? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm like...
But I think that the big thing is that he says, like, it doesn't, they say, it doesn't really matter. Shepard says, it doesn't really matter because I know what I have to do, and I'm going to do it,
Yeah, it comes down to that, but I would think that the post-human element works a lot more towards what you do, as far as the end game than what does for me.
We're gonna get
I do control
yeah.
more so than your synthesis.
Ooh, wow. Well, this is actually probably a perfect time to talk about the endings.
I think it's a good segue.
If you're in chat and you've played, let us know in the comments what endings you went with and what your preferred ending is. What do you think is the best case outcome for the galaxy? I don't like... I'll start off by saying I don't like the way that Mass Effect 3 only allows Shepard to survive through at least survive in his only form as in just the one instance of destroy. Because I don't know that he necessarily deserves to survive after that. But... Because, that's always painted as, like, the best option, or it seems like it's painted as the best option throughout the series. All of the quote-unquote good guys always say...
Alright, I will say, it's not the series. It's the fans who painted it that way. Like, the fans are like, hey, Shepard survived, he's a good one. Like,
yeah.
Alright, cool, he's dead. Legion was already dead.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like,
look, I agree with you. I'm just saying, I don't think the series did that. The fans post the game.
Fair. The community. Well,
the community.
Yeah. I think that my preferred ending is synthesis. And the reason that I say that is the argument that Ben makes against synthesis is that he sees it as a little unethical to biologically alter the fabric of life itself within the Milky Way galaxy. But my argument against that would be that in doing that, in choosing synthesis, no one really loses. The Reaper's purpose is fulfilled. The AI that controls the Reaper's purpose is fulfilled. There is no more need for death or bloodshed from their end. But in addition to that, you also have, in that moment, in an instant, a post-scarcity society just completed. There is no more need for scarcity. There is no more need for, at least so far as we know and assume, there is no more need for, what's that?
Go on.
No, so you, like I was saying, you have this post-scarcity society essentially created for you, and it allows also for the continued existence of Edie, of the Geth. You know, I think that the control or destroy option, but particularly the destroy option, it really just diminishes the meaningful, the meaning behind allowing finally the Quarians and the Geth to coexist peacefully, and for them to share their world and to heal those old wounds. And I think that that is incredibly diminished, and that this almost promotes not just peace between powers, but understanding between synthetics and organics. That's the meaning of, you know, synthesis in this case. And in that sense, everyone is post-human or post-organic, I guess you could say, in this instance. And I think that synthesis is the most moral choices. I'm not saying it's perfect. You know, there is some ethical questions about what Ben's contention is. However, I think that given all other options, I don't think that control is ethical in any way, because you are giving ultimate power over the most dangerous things known to anyone into the hands of one intelligence, one person, being Shepard. You know, everyone, hopefully you've all seen the meme of like a giant Reaper with an N7 symbol on it next to Harbinger shit-talking him. It's really funny. Look it up. But yeah, I see the implications of control as being worse, because that's what the Elusive Man wanted. And the Elusive Man's intentions, you know, in his head were moral, and I would say that the same of Shepard. But my distaste for hierarchy, that lends me to say that putting all that power in the hands of one person is too much. It gives too much away. So that's my justification. Oh my god, what's that?
That makes things so much easier.
Is that Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, go ahead. What's your throw it back at me. But you can't.
Oh, but I can. So, the first thing I'd like to say would be that, yeah, morality-wise, other than Shepard living, the destroy option has really no moral weight to it. Assuming that you believe... Never mind. Assuming that you believe that everything that happens within the universe, the way it is described to you, actually exists the way that you do, and you don't believe in the indoctrination theory, which at times I've subscribed to. But, nonetheless, everyone survives with control, just like they do within synthesis. But you also have the fact that, morally, you actually have to force your will on them. And you can kind of create your own headcanon if you want to go with the control option.
Ben, the reason I think that...
Oh, I didn't interrupt you. Oh, no.
Well, no, it's just important to state for everyone, it's important to state that you are shown, at least in the Legendary Edition, and if you use the old Mass Effect, and you have the DLC, the free DLC for changing the endings, that's not really how it goes.
I don't think anything I've described so far has been contradictory to that.
Well, I mean, it shows Shepard as being like a galactic custodian, basically.
They say they're a galactic custodian to that, but they say that they will never forget any of the past beings or forget what they were. They've just risen to a higher meaning of that. But that doesn't mean that you, as a player, saying that you are them, could believe that they just leave. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but like, you could introduce that own headcanon to yourself, like, for that. You could. It's a thing that could be existing. But if you force everybody to combine their own synthetic and organic being into existence, well, that's not going to happen. They're all just one. It's just an existence that is forced upon the entire galaxy. Oh, lovely are? Well, doesn't matter. No, all just one being. They understand what is going on with everything.
That's not how it's presented.
It's how it comes out to me.
It's always just been presented to me as if everyone is able to different. It's to me it seems more of a reconciling of differences more so than
Yeah,
than
they
that.
reconcile their differences, but it's still forced upon them.
I mean, you can see in the interaction between characters after the fact that they still retain their individuality. So I don't really understand what you mean.
They still,
come on, man, that's like objectively true.
I disagree. Part of the individuality for Ashley was that she's a racist fuck. Is that still true after that?
I don't think that. So I don't think that with the racism part, I don't think it's so much immediately reconciling the differences between different species. You know, because you still have different species. There are still the Geth and the Quarians, the Batarians and the humans, the Krogan and the Solarians. You know, it's not that. It's purely between the category of synthetic and organic, which, for the purposes of defeating the Reapers, was the important thing.
Does the animosity still exist? I don't think it does.
Between who?
The races in general.
I mean, it's shown as. I mean, yeah, but that's not because of. At least not with their governments. That's not presented with. That's not presented as being a issue of a consequence of the synthesis choice. It's seen as more of a consequence of Shepard's actions throughout the game, of reconciling differences between these governments. That doesn't mean that there aren't individual racists still out there. Of course there are. Oh, I couldn't wait for this. This was like...
I would still argue forcing your will to completely rewrite the entire biology of all of existence can't justify that. No matter what you do, you can't. You can't justify that to you.
I think I can I think I can justify it by saying...
You're too much of a consequentialist if you believe it. Like, the consequences of it, yeah. Alright, you're justified in that. Like, yes, everything is solved. Everything is immediately solved to your own will. It is your fucking shit. Like, that is objectively, everything is good. All conflict, gone. Seemingly. You say there's still things out there?
There could be. I'm saying that not shown. Yeah, of course. It's the ending of the story. They're not going to show continued conflict at the end of the narrative. I'm saying that we don't definitively know. It's impossible to know the implications afterward, you know. And I think the same is true of yours.
The same thing can be controlled. You could say the exact same thing for their control.
Yeah, I know.
Destroy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying I have my reasons.
So there's nothing beneficial towards yours than any other with that saying that anything could happen. I'm saying, hey, no matter what, yours is the only one where you're absolutely taking the entire control out of everybody's hand except for yours and putting into synthesis and making them all one, regardless of any of their opinions. That's just, it has to happen. You did that. You control the Reapers, you make them leave.
If you
It
want.
can be argued that they are alive or not, or just acting completely on program to.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Life.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I would argue that they are less lifelike than the Gap, personally. But destroy, you kill all synthetic life. That's pretty fucked.
Of course.
ED's definitely alive. Geth's definitely still alive.
You know, I actually
Reapers
think
are
that
the one.
I actually think that this is a fundamental. You could almost correlate this a little bit fundamentally towards our real world political ideologies a little bit.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because, you know, for someone who's an anarchist, you know, what I would posit, yeah, what I would posit with, yours would essentially be under, for all intents and purposes, potentially, it has the potential to be under this new state. Now, how you dictate that state and what that state does for its people is, again, we don't know. We genuinely don't know. All we know is that essentially Shepard becomes the galactic custodian and protector of everyone with the Reapers under him. With mine, it removes that possibility as even being a factor, and it just allows everyone else to coexist in harmony, which is, I think, a little bit more. I think that just is a little bit of a differential highlight. You can't correlate each perfectly, but I'm just saying, I think it highlights a little bit of the differences in our belief systems. Maybe.
So to me, it highlights, like, I don't understand our own personal contradictions, because there is a point for that. Yeah. You're highlighting our own differentials, but yet sometimes I fall a lot more on the Soviet Union side than you do.
Almost always, actually.
Exactly. They're a lot more on the force. On everybody. On their opinions.
Yeah, but guess what?
Which is the synthesis. They are forcing that shit.
Oh my god, no. And here's why. It's one big choice, and it's final, whereas with yours, having control of it...
Stalin's one big choice to make everybody within the communist bloc do.
No, what I'm saying is it's one big choice and it's final, and you can't make any other choices for anyone after that. You leave things in the hands of other individuals and in the hands of a new galactic community. Whereas yours,
individuals.
Yes, it is.
They're not individuals at that point. Yes. I don't think they're not.
Dude, it shows people as being individuals still. It doesn't show them as being like these robotic nothings. To say that is to say that the Geth are not individuals when they clearly are.
They're a collective.
They're a collective of individual programs. And even better yet, after you make the decision in Mass Effect 3 that you make with regards to them, if you go the Paragon route and you save both the Geth and the Quarians, you give each Geth unit their own individual personality. But that aside, after the game ends with synthesis, you still see individuals acting out of individual accord. You still see Edie and Joker holding hands. You still see Liara tearing up as she puts your plate, if Liara is your love interest, whoever the love interest is. For me, it was Liara. You see that love interest putting your nameplate on the Normandy's...
You don't detail it because...
I don't care. You get what I'm saying.
You don't care?
I'm kidding. But no, you get what I'm saying though.
Fellow operator. How do you say his name?
Wait, did he say something else? I didn't.
I mean, as far as his thing for the Turians and humans after ending.
Shoot, I lost chat. Hang on.
So according to the destroy option, which is the only option where there's no longer synthetic life, they do make more synthetic life eventually. You don't know when.
Yeah.
They say they will. You don't know when.
Where the hell is chat? Oh, there it is.
Your tentacle lover.
Hey, Liara's a beautiful person, alright? She has a beautiful personality.
She does. Not as good as Tally's, but good.
But,
Tally does.
anyway,
Tally.
yeah, maybe.
More gross.
Tally all day.
Better.
Oh, shit. God,
Tally all day.
Tally got that ass. Hey, alright.
Does.
Alright, hey, chill. Yeah, so does, Garrus has that ass too, alright.
Point Googling on the Galect net would say that she's comfortable with this. She knows it.
Yeah.
She's getting out there. Getting out there.
But anyway, no, I think Tally is a very, like, objectively a more realized character. I agree. But anyway, no,
Even if they try to force Liara on you all the time. Which, I do love Liara, but...
But anyway,
I guess those are the only two people I ever romanced.
Yeah, I mean... I romanced Jack
Garrus is next.
once.
Garrus is my next playthrough.
Yep, romancing Garrus in the next playthrough. I might do Caden. I might do a Caden romance in my next playthrough. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway,
Jack is coming up.
True.
We got a lot of Tally lovers.
Yeah, we do.
Which is right.
Anyway, but no, all I'm saying is that I think that it's incorrect. Whatever you say with with regards to what you were saying about the morality of my decision, I think that it would be a little bit in bad faith to say that no one's an individual anymore. I don't think that that's correct given what we're shown. You know, you can still make the argument. It's fine to make the argument, because I said it wasn't perfectly a moral choice. I just think it's the most moral choice. Obviously, if there was a better option, but...
Excuse me. Control's the most moral choice. It's the most moral choice. You don't commit genocide.
I don't understand. Sorry, real quick. I don't understand how we have so many users in chat, but only 5 viewers. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. But anyway.
Mine says 7. What are you talking about?
I'm just talking about what I'm seeing on my screen, but yeah. Okay. Oh, whatever.
Mine says there's 7 viewers. And
it's probably more accurate. I don't know.
Conball says 7. Hey, Conball, as far as, like, your taste for romances, with Jack, Miranda's probably the only woman that I would, like, romance. I mean, that's Ashley for the very similar reasons as you.
Or Ashley.
I would romance Ashley over Miranda. I don't like Miranda. I don't know why. But, as far as Jack goes, apparently there have been some Paragon options, which I'm planning on exploring in the future. She's very sympathetic and very, like, melts in your hands type person when you actually romance her in the Paragon option, which I've heard. So, I am excited to look into that.
I mean, and for me, the reason why I never really romanced Jack was a little bit different, which I'm not contending with what Ben's saying, because I also see that in terms of his justification and what have you. I've always preferred to put myself in a position of, like, just being her friend and being like a mentor almost. To me, for me, I feel uncomfortable, for just given everything that Jack went through, I would feel uncomfortable romancing her in game, because to me it almost feels a little bit like taking advantage of her. But that's just me.
I would argue that would mean that you don't think those people deserve love, which
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that given my position of leadership over her... Shut up. That's not what I meant. For fuck's sake.
Look, as somebody who is completely, usually stuck in their own trauma, and
Me too.
romances people in their own life within their own trauma,
Me as well.
then you should be good.
I'm just saying that most of those people, I wasn't in a position of direct leadership or responsibility over, which is where I say it becomes
You're
like
taking advantage of your own leadership. That is a good point.
of a subordinate, of her being your subordinate. That's what I'm talking about.
She's not really a subordinate within the game.
Yes, she is.
She doesn't have...
You're responsible for her. You're responsible for her actions aboard the Normandy.
You think you're responsible for her, but she's always willing to leave whenever.
I guess.
Connolly's always willing to leave whenever. Harris could leave whenever. Miranda is only there because of her job obligations to meet Jacob.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going up Mass Effect 2, but like, Amara's there because she swore her an oath.
Yeah, she swore you an oath, which I wouldn't probably... I also just don't really care for Samara's personal ethos, I guess.
You gotta respect their own personal ethos.
Well, I'm not saying I don't respect it.
Thing.
I'm not saying I don't respect it. I'm saying I don't care for it in a romantic partner. Like, I don't care for my romantic partner to basically be Batman or, like, V for Vendetta.
I don't want to fucking be Catwoman. Alright? I'm not Catwoman.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not that shit.
But anyway, yeah, I think we've had a good discussion with philosophy here. I think we can move on to...
Not that shit.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have much to go before we're ready to close. We could talk at the end of the day.
Depending on how much we want to go.
Yeah.
How much want to go?
I also have the sneaking suspicion of what's in that that little holder you got there. I think you could talk about Mass Effect drunk for hours if I let you.
This is my 7th beer. All right.
One of us has to be sober. All right. Here in a couple months, I'm going to be high for at least one of these episodes, and I want our viewers to guess which one.
In Haiti, where it's legal, federally and state.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Nothing illegal or illicit going on here.
I'm gonna take a piss.
All right. So while Ben's gone, let's look at our outline. So something else we were going to go into, probably once he gets back, is interpersonal relationships. That's actually probably a great way to lead into it. Is we've already started talking about romance options in Mass Effect and the way that Commander Shepard deals with his interpersonal relationships. And by the way, for those of you still watching or listening, however you're doing it, we're going to edit all of this in post. I like having it streamed so that we can get live feedback and live questions from viewers. We're trying to refine our process. This is only our first episode ever, so if anyone has any ideas for us or how to make things better, we're gonna try to implement as much as we can. And this is also a perfect time to say that all of this is run through the Basement 2.0 multimedia production company. It's currently it's in the works for being set up. We do a lot of stuff. We have a gaming community. We play a lot of video games together. Most currently right now, Star Citizen, but we're looking to branch into other projects. We've got room for a little bit of everything there. We're going to be making T-shirts, mugs, all that good stuff to sell to you people. So, anyway, Ben, I figured that since we were just talking about romance options, that we could get a little bit into the interpersonal relationships segment that we wanted to do, and then after that, I think we got us an episode, man.
Okay.
Unless you had anything.
One thing. Well, I was gonna add one thing. We've been very political already so far.
Of course.
And since
Very
before I took a
opinionated.
test, you are very opinionated. So we're recording this. People live, obviously, with this already. Shortly after Memorial Day. The thing that I've been drinking that Luke's just pointed out is actually in regards to it's a Yingling brand, veterans ran thing, and usually about 6,000 veterans die a year via suicide. So maybe keep that in mind. Nice little branding thing for that too. I'm a veteran, so we all got mental health issues. Oh shit. Alcohol too.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to know is that even on the Basement 2.0 community, we've got just a little mental health thing, where people can post their issues if they're having any. But the biggest thing is to realize that you're not alone if you're going through anything, and that we in the show support you.
We've all been through the shit. Like, it's rough. It's always terrible. Doesn't matter if it's a breakup, death in a family, a deep existential crisis that you are just experiencing because of your own self, a personal failure. I've had them all. Shit, I've had 3 of them this year. Like, this year's not even half over. Going strong, but we're always there. We're all going through the shit. Suicide is the thing that doesn't matter race, creed, economic standard. Actually, that's a lie. Technically, if you're richer, typically more susceptible to suicide. But other than that, it's usually pretty bad looking.
People. The point is, people of every demographic, regardless of what you're talking about, deal with it. But anyway, what's up? Sorry, I thought you were about to say. Okay, but getting back into the content, interpersonal relationships. So one of the great things about Mass Effect is the way that I think it shows us the way that interpersonal relationships, not just romantic, but friendships, family, the way that they can shape a person and affect a person. You see this not just with Commander Shepard, but you see it too with a lot of different characters. One big one is, the way that our parents can affect us, and the way that our parents and their habits, their tendencies, the way that they treated us, be it good or bad, can kind of mirror itself in our own lives, in our own interpersonal relationships. One character example of that is the character of Miranda. Actually, real piece of shit father. Really invested in controlling every piece of her life, making sure that she and her sister, her twin sister, were, or I guess younger actually, isn't it?
She describes
younger, but a biological clone.
Biological.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. Anyway.
Again, spoilers.
Yeah. So anyway, this talking about this, especially before the episode started and before we went rolling, it actually made me think about some things in my own life where I had a very unconventional upbringing myself with regards to my parentage. I was raised by 2 women. My parents are lesbians, but my father also was like a little bit, my biological father was also an interplayer in this role. And, we have a great relationship now. We're best friends. Even though he never raised me, I consider him to be a massive figure in my life. And if he's listening, love you, Dad. It's one of those things where you can really see the way that our parents and the choices that they make can kind of define us, especially at a really, really young age. And you see that a lot in the character of Miranda with regards to her father's constant need to control her life and to use her as his own personal tool, which luckily my father never did that. But you see it kind of mirror a little bit. You see it kind of mirror a little bit in the way that Miranda almost tries to treat Shepard. There's a point in the game where she mentions to you that she wanted to plant a control chip into you, and she has a little bit of an introspective moment there where she realizes that, wow, holy shit, I've become my father, or I'm like my father, you know. And it's one of those things where she's always let the trauma that he dealt her and caused her sort of shape her actions. And I think that's important. It's an important theme for all of us, because a lot of times we're not very cognizant of the effect that we have on other people. You know, you have a there's a term, you know, a lot of times the abuser or the abused becomes the abuser later on in life. Unfortunately, that's the case a lot of the time, where, you know, our parents tend to imprint certain behaviors on us, and that's, you can bring up the argument of, you know, nature versus nurture. Something to think about. And you see it a little bit too. There's other, you know, family dichotomies in Mass Effect. Like, you have Jacob and his father. You have Jack and the way she was raised. I wouldn't say her parents, but Jack and the way she was raised, and the environment that she came up in. Let's see. There was another one on there. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Thane Krios, and his...
Not him.
His son. And the great thing about Thane Krios is... Yeah, Tally as well. Thane Krios' son, you know, the beautiful thing about that relationship was Thane realizing and recognizing the mistakes that he'd made in life, and that his son was starting to follow in his footsteps. And, you know, his big loyalty mission was, you know, trying to make sure and set his son on a path to where he would not make those mistakes in the future. And I think that there's something really great to be said about that, because I think that's the only real example we have in the games of, you know, between basically broken families and broken households ending up in reconciliation and coming together in the end. But anything else that you had, Ben, with regards to interpersonal relationships, outside of the family one? It's like, be it romantic, friendships, all that good stuff.
So, there is also, like, yeah, you just said all of the definitely father-daughter mainly within the list you laid, and some sons. But there's also definitely the element that you can always keep in mind. Not only friends, but love interests that exist within it, and the family, friends, and love interests all combine to a nice little element of, like what we were just talking about actually with the veterans thing. There is an element of
family, I would say.
Not only family, but an oasis of places where, like, you can come to exist, where you are happy and can exist as yourself and express yourself within the game. That makes it so that you can have your own place to exist without feeling judged. And
you mean you as the player?
Yeah, you as the player can, like, find an oasis away from reality and just not feel the depression that weighs down on you. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of escapism
myself,
in Mass Effect.
There is, yes. That
more so than in any other game for me, actually.
The amount of times I've watched Tally, and I've become giddy upon, like, watching it, like, oh, you're so cute, like, oh, look at that. Like, I would love to be your friend in real life. And, like, Liara does some like nerdy ass shit, I'm like, oh, I love history too, like geology and like trying to like
Archaeology. Yeah.
archaeology. Sorry, yeah, archaeology, not geology. Going into like digging up past civilizations and trying to figure out older things. I love all of that. The connection that like exists when you like go into Mass Effect is something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. 100%. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. The connection, if you want to go within the complete the existence within the game. Just gonna be, yeah, get some real lust for Jacob. She writes some haikus and does some real funky shit within her mind for him. Tally and Garrus hook up, but you never romance either of them. And
one thing I was going to mention alongside all of this that you've just said is with the Citadel DLC especially, it brings up the idea too of like, you know, because Ben and I have been friends for a few years now, and I would consider Ben to be, you know, even though we come from different families and somewhat different backgrounds, I would consider Ben to be,
even though we get compared as brothers all the time.
Yeah, exactly. We've even by people outside of our interpersonal dynamic, we get seen as a lot of times as being brothers. It's really funny actually, but no,
How many concerts have we? Oh, your brother Lou.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we both had the same haircut at the time.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see next time. We'll see next time.
Yeah, but but
copy as a little brother should.
But yeah, but no. The thing I wanted to bring up too, though, is that, you know, family doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, blood in that sense, and you really get that with Mass Effect, and it goes back to the themes that we were talking about earlier with interspecies and intercultural, or I guess applying it to humans in real life, interracial relations, and the fact that, you know, it's very possible, and I've seen it and I've done it. We both have, actually. Our friend group that we used to have was very, very multi-background and multiracial.
My friend group the entire time of my life has been, like, so, you know, personal for it.
I mean, if you don't, feel free to nod if you don't want to. I just think it's well for tying into it.
Like I said earlier, I'm an open book. Look, almost throughout my entire life, the entire, like, my friend group has always been multiracial, at least. And they've always called me out on shit, at least for that, at least. Like, earlier when we were talking about how our own biases might bleed through, we have different racism biases that could influence us.
Ben and I both have racists in our family, so it's, you know.
Yes, the thing I said earlier, not here, but
unfortunately.
Yes, both of us have family, city, and military bases that have been racist as fuck.
Or sexist, or both.
Usually that coincides, yes.
Usually.
Yeah.
Or transphobic.
And so, well, oh boy. So, my place I originate from, so transphobic. Trans doesn't even exist. Like,
to those
that
people,
wasn't even
yeah.
a thing I knew about until, like, I reached college, really. And that was 6 years after when I got out of the military. So, like, since I got out of the high school. So, like, I got out of high school in 2014. 2020-ish was about the time where I first met and had a real conversation with a trans person. At least knowledgeably. That's insane.
Me too, actually. It was like late last year, early this year. Someone I work with, which, by the way, dude, if you're watching this, fucking love you. You're an amazing person.
Yeah, well, same to you. I doubt that you are. I don't know what you fucking did or do. I took a German class I took a psychology class with you. It was cool as fuck. We actually got to discuss trans issues within that psychology class, but nonetheless, what I was saying is, relating all back to Mass Effect, is all of these things to a certain element exist within it. Like, the Asari are not male or female, they exist between those two things, as far as, like, to an extent, trans issues. Racism, and, like, you trying to talk through them when it comes to different races as a species. You can talk to Ashley all the time, right? Genocide, when it can coexist with Jewish, Armenian, the Japanese one, Chinese.
Rwandan, it's so many. Unfortunately, so many.
So many genocides. Americans versus the Native Americans, like, it exists across continents. You can talk to Rex about that. It doesn't get to the full depths of it, but, like, it can start you off, and all of these are so amazing when it comes to relationship. And all of these different people aren't defined by these different things. It's just the thing that I'm using as a talking point in this. But all of them are friends beyond that don't actually exist. They don't know me. The voice actor will never know me. But I love them regardless of that. And it is so interesting, and the endless conversations that I will have for the rest of my life because of them. It's because of this game. And it's so beautiful.
Totally.
So beautiful.
Well, that being said, Ben, do you have any closing thoughts?
Oh boy. I felt like that was actually it.
I mean, you kind of did that a little bit.
Yeah, kinda.
If you don't, then I can give mine, and
Give yours and then
yeah, sure.
I'm fine.
So, in closing, as I said before, this is our first episode. It's not going to be perfect. We got sidetracked a lot, and honestly, I would expect that to continue because the goal of this podcast was for it to be as open-ended and free-flowing as possible. I personally find, having an outline helps, having a structure helps, but scripting it all with two people, especially with two different perspectives, is A, difficult, and B, I think can detract from the level of conversational nuance that can be achieved. But that being said, with Mass Effect specifically, I feel much the same way that Ben does, although I don't think I've played it as many times as Ben has, but this game is definitely, it's definitely something special. It's definitely got a special place in my heart, as do all of its characters and all of its themes, despite the issues that it has. I think that, if more people played Mass Effect and more people understood it and understood those themes and, didn't just look at, Liara, Booba, Big Booba, like something like that, I think that there's a lot to be gained from it, and I think that it can actually teach you a lot from, the lessons about genocide and race relations to, what the hell? Sorry, someone's... I don't know what Cotton Balls was trying to say. Cotton Balls, do you want to try and say that in, one message? But anyway, yeah. But no, I think that if more people paid attention to Mass Effect thematically, that a lot of people in the gaming community might find themselves learning a thing or two about politics, philosophy, and ethics, which is why we're here. It's what we're here to discuss, just through a very nerdy framework of the things that we both love and enjoy. So.
My body. Hey, you want the porn of that? Reach out to me. I got the porn.
All right. Jesus Christ. I'm cutting that out. I'm sorry. I have to cut that out. I have to. There's also slavery in this game. Melloperator, Or maybe Ben knows. Melloperator says there's also slavery in this game.
Yes. Wow. Did we not mention that?
Not really, but it never takes a super prevalent place in the story. I guess I guess I overlooked it.
Reason. Okay, so all right.
Geth and Quarian, but there's also slave traders.
Okay. No, not only the slavery of the Quarians over the Geth, which they did, and then they didn't realize they were going to become AI to the extent. So yes, that's all the thing from them. But also, obviously, the Turians who enslaved every being that they could, especially the humans, which led to not only them falling out of favor between the council and then the oh, why the fuck I just about said the United States, but all right. So I guess he was talking about meaning Geth Quarian, meaning I believe directly Serbian.
Hang on, you cut out for a second there. Can you say some of that again? I'm sorry.
What was the last thing you heard?
Well, I just saw you were thinking about other I guess real world examples or something.
Maybe. I mean,
I don't know.
The last time I stopped, I think it was nonetheless. Mello brought up Geth and Quarians, which Geth literally were the slaves of the Quarians. They were the Serbian. I believe that's the direct translation for the Quarians between Geth and English. And so they were trying to do that for them. They were trying to make a VI essentially to be slave labor. They're trying to pull the South of the United States in, what do you think, the 22nd century? Like, dude, pretty fucked up. You have the Batarians obviously enslaving all of the Alliance mainland, as many as they could, raiding colonies, completely obliterating everything that they could, and hence the Green on the Sky DLC within Mass Effect 1, where the Batarians try to invade a entire asteroid to try and do terrorist acts upon us, deciding, hey, slavery, not cool. And the council not having any real issue with this, not stopping any of it.
Not only that, but we also on Ilium in the Terminus systems see it's not just Batarians. We see a slave trader on Ilium with a Quarian, if you remember.
Yes, that was more serfdom, I would say.
I mean, it's a human owning another human, essentially, for all intents and purposes.
I would go Russian Empire, like slavery in a different name.
Yeah.
Legal slavery within the civilized communities, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Like, that Asari was just using slavery by a different name, and you can call her out as that, at least as your shepherd, which is good. I love that. But you don't get to stop that. You don't. One thing about this game that I never liked and never will like is that existential things that exist throughout the community, whether that be slavery, the lack of democracy, the very hyper-focused concept of militarism.
That leads me
into change that.
Yeah, and that kind of leads back into what I was saying at the beginning of stream, which I don't think some of you in chat weren't there, but with the D&D alignment system, Shepard almost always falls under the lawful good, which the D&D alignment system is very simplistic, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for gray areas, but I would say that Shepard's good is defined as doing good things while staying, at least if you're a Paragon Shepherd, it deals with doing good things within the framework of your society and the institution that you serve in at the time. So that's also a little problematic, and is just a limitation that the game has. Hopefully, there's a new Mass Effect coming out. Hopefully it can maybe resolve a little bit of that, especially with the climate, the political climate that we all live in, and the times. have changed quite a bit, so maybe we'll
No
get...
wonder, yeah, I doubt it.
I'm just saying, I have a little bit of hope, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, if you guys haven't played Mass Effect Legendary Edition, highly recommend it. It's amazing. Cotton Balls hopes. We all hope.
Zero hope.
Zero hope.
Zero
Oh,
hope.
zero
No
hope. Oh. Well, I thought that
No
was a
hope
typo.
is existent.
But anyway, I think we're gonna call that an episode. No, EA is terrible. EA is a terrible company.
I lost faith in EA back in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, just a
that's-
little bit.
Which, ironically, like, that's, like, directly before Mass Effect 3 is when I got involved in Mass Effect. I was like, oh, Mass Effect 3's coming out. Oh, well, that seems interesting. I'll play Mass Effect 1. Loved it.
That's
2,
interesting,
loved it.
because I
3,
actually... I got 3 when it came out after having played the first 2, and I had so much anticipation for that game.
See, I played up to... Shit, we got into this series at the same time? That's
Probably.
interesting as fuck. Alright.
But anyway, I think we're gonna... Sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think we're gonna call that an episode. We have 3.5 hours of things to sift through and edit and take care of in post. But in terms of our next episode, I'm thinking Star Wars maybe.
Ooh, good.
I'm thinking Star Wars.
Actually, semi-knowledgeable.
Now, in terms of the framework of that, I'm thinking rather than go movie by movie. Oh, we're talking about Stargate 2. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Cotton Balls. We've still got
Let's skip the Stargate first.
No, because we need you to finish it first.
So what I was thinking was, this is something I'm very knowledgeable on. We got a good 3 hours in. We skipped the Stargate, something I'm less knowledgeable in. We finish it up.
Well, I'd like us to have near equal knowledge with the subjects that we talk about.
Well, no, that's my point. So, like, I have time because of the 3 hours. We can kind of spread that out upon the release dates.
Yeah, he says
We
you
go
have
to
to
Stargate.
you have to finish it. You have to finish it before we do the episode. It's imperative.
Oh, I'm not gonna not finish it before the point. My point is, I guess, what is your release schedule? Because if our release schedule
So
has it where this is like weekly basis, we can finish Stargate within the next couple weeks. We can start actually filming with like a week left, and then
So
push shit out.
what I'm thinking is we're gonna try to keep ourselves, at least now, at the bare minimum episode releases is gonna be, because I still have to go in and do post-production work with this, and that's gonna take time because I have to learn new software. I have to figure out what the hell I'm doing. But I'm thinking that it's gonna be at the bare minimum an episode a month. If we can get up, I want to have the most time to produce the most quality discussions, and that's not to say that with certain things, if we're just firing away and we're able to pump out 2 or 3 episodes a month, perfect. But I'm thinking that it's going to be much more of a at the most a month, for each. But I'm thinking, with regards to Star Wars, we don't actually have to do all of Star Wars in one episode. In fact, I think it would be a little bit unfair to the work put into those movies, into that franchise, to do that. So I'm thinking we can do an episode for each trilogy, not an episode for each movie, but an episode for each trilogy, and then we can move into the series, the books, if we want to, because there's a couple of Star Wars novels that I'd like to talk about as well.
Right. Well, you better send me them right away because
Yeah. So
not that many of those I've read.
the big ones are the Thrawn trilogy and Darth Plagueis, which
Of course.
Darth Plagueis is really interesting, dude. It's very interesting. Especially for speaking of out against ideologies that we hate. I think it's pretty accurate with how they function. But regardless, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm also thinking we're not going to do all of Star Wars in sequence at once. I think we'll do a trilogy, do a couple episodes of some other things, and keep going. It doesn't have to all be at once. So, in terms of released content, but
so if I could recommend the release Mass Effect, obviously, probably
within the week, probably, or two. But we need to reach out. We need to reach out to those individuals that we talked about earlier for things with post.
Already done. At least for the music, the art design. I've done that.
Was she down with it?
She hasn't responded. I've reached out to her.
My bad. So, but yeah. Anyway, we can talk about all this after the fact. If you want, just because again we have so much. Already.
We can end this call and then we can actually start an actual call off topic.
Sure. Anyway. Thanks for listening, everyone. This has been two nerds high-fiving. Again, I'm Luke, he's Ben, and we talk about pop culture within the frame of politics, philosophy, and ethics, and it's been great talking about Mass Effect with y'all. Have a great rest of your